Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends. And as you can see, the panel is filled with lots of friends. A little different than the regular crew you're used to. We did have a few people actually call out at the last minute because of course, family-related incidents or situations that sometimes go beyond being able to do a podcast and deal with at the same time. And we will have everyone back next week in their chairs. Everyone is doing fine. I'm happy to report. And we do have some people that we pulled off of the bench that do have all-star quality podcasting skills. And we're going to start with our guests first. Sean D, first of all, brother, thank you so much for answering the call. Super appreciate you being a part of tonight's program. How the heck have you been?
Oh, man, I've been doing good. Glad to be here and glad to always help out. You can call me whenever. Let's get into this topics, man.
Well, thank you so much for being here. And we do have a tremendous amount of fire topics that are going to fill 2 hours of your Monday evening. And next up, you know him as someone that is on loan from PlayStation Nation. He has cost me a significant amount of money in the form of $5.82. Obviously paying those returns. Joe, Mr. Badbit, welcome to the program and thanks for joining.
Yeah, no, you know what? I'm happy to be here. And I just gotta say one thing: Luke Lord just sucks. He just sucks.
We're gonna have a conversation about Luke. Now, obviously, I had advertised that Luke Lore. Obviously, you know him from the Xbox Factor podcast earlier this year. He was a regular panel member. Of course, he had to go back to teaching, and he will be making some guest appearances during the holiday break that's upcoming. He obviously had something come up that was a little personal. We've already spoken, and he will be joining us next week. Luke, if you're out there, keep the head up.
Whatever excuse he brings up next. Luke Lore is just a fake, a fraud, and a big fat phony, if you ask me.
Well, let's hope that he's doing okay, and of course that he will be joining us next Monday evening to reprise his role as guest star of the evening. And of course, we're going to go to our regular panel member as we wait for the rest of the panel to funnel in here, and of course, so we can get more people listening to the program. Cybernox, I know that you were running late, but somehow or another, throughout your Cape Crusader duties, you made it. Thanks for being here. How the heck have you been?
Had to put that Batmobile in overdrive, boom. Oh, man, it feels good to be here. It is Monday, another great time for primetime gaming. I'm glad to be here with Sean D, Mr. Babbitt, Mag, yourself, and I'm ready to talk some games. It's exciting. Got a little game coming out at the end of this week that I'm sure some of us are excited for. So let's talk some games. I'm ready.
Yeah. We have a lot to get into. And last and no way least, the loudest member of all the way from the north side of Canada. Please welcome the middle-aged gamer guy. Welcome, brother.
Oh, good evening, Boom. Good evening, chat. Good evening, panel. And yes, special good evening to Sean D. And of course, Mr. Badbit. We have ourselves a great show this evening. We have some great topics, so let's get right into it.
Yeah, okay. So what we're going to do is we are expecting Gaming Forte. He obviously was out last week due to work. And I believe he said he will be, reprising his role as always. And of course, our good friend, the Everborn, who was running from work to make the program. He'll be joining us momentarily as well. And I will bring this topic back around to them when they get here. But we have to open up the show with a bit of seriousness. When talking about the original Xbox, the OG Xbox, there are two titles that come to mind, at least for me, and immediately produce big cheese smiles on most gamers' faces. And we're talking about Knights of the Old Republic and Jade Empire. Now, when talking about the Xbox 360, it's Mass Effect that jumps to the front of the line. And of course, Mass Effect 2 and 3 eventually came to both the Xbox 360 and PS3. And after that, many will think of Dragon Age, which has been a favorite of most gamers that like that kind of genre. Now, all of these IPs are game-defying classics that have a history that are considered unmatched by any other developer. Now, in recent years, the incredible legacy has been shrouded in doubt, controversy, and massive changes in leadership. And the mass exodus that has taken place in recent years is concerning at the least. And of course, we are talking about the world famous Bioware. Now, in the rocky years, there are two titles that were released back to back that did not, do well with the fan base. And of course, I'm talking about Mass Effect Andromeda and the very, very troubled Anthem. Now, these titles were thought to be a return to greatness, or at least that's what we expected for Bioware. And unfortunately, they fell way short of what we expected them to be. And, EA has just announced some more changes. EA and, of course, Bioware. Casey Hudson, who is the general manager at Bioware, and Mark Darrah, the executive producer of the upcoming new Dragon Age title, will be departing the company. Now, all current ongoing projects, including Anthem Next, which is supposed to be the 2.0 version, the next Dragon Age, and the recently announced Mass Effect, the Legendary Edition remasters, among them, will continue as planned despite the big leadership shifts. Now, Samantha Ryan will continue to oversee the studio, while Christian Daly, who joined Bioware from Blizzard, will now be leading the Dragon Age project as executive producer, with Matthew Goldman remaining as creative director on the project. And the Mass Effect collection will continue to be led by Mike Gamble, as the team also remains hard at work on the future of the franchise. Remember, there was rumors and confirmation from Bioware that they were in fact working on the next Mass Effect. Now, the fear that many people in the gaming, or many gamers in the gaming community, have had in recent years has now been turned up to 11, in my opinion. And when pondering whether EA will eventually close the studio like so many before it, we know EA has, in the last 10 years, closed a significant amount of studios that seem to have these types of problems. Now, is it likely? Probably not. But is there concern? Absolutely. I want to go to our guests first, and I'm going to start with Shandi. Shandi, we were talking before going live, and you talking with me, we both agreed that there is great concern for what is currently going on at Bioware with Casey Hudson and the executive producer leaving at the same time. This seems like this was not only unplanned, but it should send shockwaves throughout the industry of what exactly is going on at Bioware. What are your thoughts on this first opening story?
Yeah, so the whole Casey and Mark Darrah leaving, you got to kind of hold the same energy you had back in 2017 when Casey Hudson came back, right? Because when Casey came back, a lot of us were like, okay, Casey's back. He's going to restore BioWare to what it used to be. We're going to start getting the games that we feel like we deserve from this creator. So if you felt that way back then when he first came back, you have to feel some type of way for the fact that he's leaving all over again. Because to me, the fact that he left and they didn't have anybody to take over his spot immediately shows that he left on his own accord, and they didn't receive any real notice. I feel like they're trying to basically scramble to make it look like, because I understand how PR is, you got to make it look like everything's good even when it's not. The main thing I want to know is, I want to know, why did he leave? Did he leave because is EA still pushing kind of like a games as a service model in all their games now? And they're like, hey, this is not how our games are. Our games are just heavily strong narrative games that help people get away from some of these games as a service that are already out here? Or is it more along the lines of there was like a big change up with the way they did their work? Because we know that a lot of their employees were like just going through like nervous breakdowns and stuff behind the scenes. We know that A lot of their upper leadership was leaving over and over again. Maybe both of them were just like, I don't see how we can salvage what is here. And they decided to possibly leave and start their own thing, maybe together. I don't know, but it's definitely concerning. And I'm not going to say that BioWare is doomed. However, they don't have what Respawn has, where they have Vince, right? Because Vince was very straightforward when he made his games. He essentially was telling EA, no, this is how we're going to do it. And the reason why he was able to do that is because they kept performing every time they released a game. BioWare just doesn't have that leg to stand on because their games have continuously let down the expectation of what everybody expected from them.
Yeah, I mean, look, what could you say? You know, the one thing about this industry that is, I think that people within the gaming industry, whether you're a professional, a podcaster, or someone just likes to watch the industry, we wear our opinions on our sleeves. And one thing that is immediately evident is we will be asking, what have you done for us lately? Right. And unfortunately, Mass Effect Andromeda, though some people enjoyed it, did not hit. Right. That's a confirmed fact. Anthem was supposed to be the quote unquote Destiny killer. And we heard about the people crying in corners and hiding in their in their desks and all kinds of real terrible things. That story was uncovered by Jason Schreier, who's no longer with Kotaku. And the crunch that was going on over there caused the breakdown of several people. Now, again, what you said to what you said, again, listening to ILP, the Iron Lords podcast, they said some things that I absolutely agree with. And for Casey Hudson and the other gentleman to leave at the same time, this was unplanned. And for someone that was brought back in to right the ship, leaving on such a short and sudden kind of a situation tells me that some big decision was made, that they were just like, this is not for us, we're not happy, and we're going to keep it moving. Mr. Badbit, let's bring you in as well on this. Listen, BioWare hasn't been the same BioWare in what seems to be 5 years at minimum. Some people could even say 10 years. This is not the same team that brought us Jade Empire. This is not the same team that brought us Mass Effect 1 and 2. This is not the same team that brought us Knights of the Old Republic. Those days, unfortunately, are way behind us. I'm interested to know your particular opinion, because you sometimes look at this with a marketing hat point of view. Is there some real concern for BioWare?
Yeah, man, there's definitely pause for concern. I think if I was EA, this happened a month ago, or a few weeks ago. The reason why, it's very planned, very, very planned. I don't think this was all too sudden. I think the writing was on the wall for these two, unfortunately. When I take a look at like when they announced it to the time where we get like Jeff Keighley going, oh, hey, there's going to be Dragon Age stuff.
Yes.
It's like seconds apart almost, at least in the internet's eyes. So EA definitely knew this was coming. I think both of them knew it was coming. And I think it was applicable, if that's a word I'll invent for a sec, between them to a certain degree for them to go out the way they did. That being said, and a Hispanic mother yelling in the background, I will say this: if I'm EA, it's how do I right this ship? Like, something's obviously not working, and I think when Shonda, you said it earlier, when Casey came back, everybody's like, "All right, okay, the ship's gonna get righted," and it just didn't. And you didn't have this situation like you had with Naughty Dog, where you had executives leave, you had visionaries leave, but they were then replaced by others that were, not to say more suited, but were at an equal level, right? Like you've seen people also come back, like in the case of God of War, right? Where like they totally reinvent their genre and reinvent their franchises. Casey didn't do that. And I think there's a whole lot of mismanagement going on in BioWare. And the question then now remains is, well, who is that visionary? Who is that person that's going to take this company that is not doing good? It is bleeding talent, right? And more so than what normal game devs usually do, because there's always high turnover. So, how do you keep people there? How do you keep them happy most of all? And how do you keep them working efficiently? That those are questions that EA has to answer. I don't know if they have the answers to, So for me, this is bad news. This definitely sucks. Where do these two, like Mike Darrah and Casey, go from here? I don't know. I don't even know if they stay in the industry. So
yeah, that's that. Again, after such a quick departure, are they burnt out? Or do we know that they're not damaged? That they've literally had enough of the industry because of what was going on behind the scenes?
And you see that a lot as well when you get to a certain echelon. It seems like as the game dev roadmap, you see a lot of these more executive roles. Once they achieve that, I think like Bruce Stanley from Last of Us, like he's no longer a part of Naughty Dog. He's no longer part of the industry.
He stepped away.
He had his milestone and then he left. Like you see a lot of people do that. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happens here. It's sad though, because though I'm not gonna sit here and go, I'm the biggest BioWare fan, it always sucks to see a studio struggle so openly.
Well, you know what? Let's bring Everborn. First of all, Everborn, welcome to the program, my brother. I really appreciate you. Yeah, really appreciate you stepping up in a big way. Obviously we were down a few bodies, and I sent you out a DMs like I did the other guests, and thankfully you were able to join us. Now you are someone I want to talk about because from an artist point of view, BioWare must mean something to you because of the amount of magic that they have created over the years. And to see the studio go literally from the GOAT to basically not being able to produce a game that is not shrouded in controversy is honestly sad to see. Now, when you see, of course, these two big departures, it is something to be concerned about for you as a gamer, but also as a producer. What do you think is actually going on at BioWare?
Well, I think first of all, thanks for having me. Like I said, anytime you need me on a Monday night show, I'm here for you. That said, and what's up, Cyber and Mag and Bad Bitch, Sean D, what's happening? But I will say, this doesn't hurt me too much because I've cried these tears already.
Okay,
right? I've kind of cried these tears when they went to EA. And even after that, like, when was the last time? And I'm not like, I don't want to badmouth them, but what I'm saying is, I think the BioWare of old, we've lost them already, right? And it's a name, sort of, that we're looking at. But I mean, whether it's Andromeda, whether it is Anthem, and there are people that love those games, and I liked what they tried to do in Anthem, but I personally didn't have high hopes for what's happening with the new Mass Effect that they're going to be working on, just because I sort of look at Mass Effect now like I look at The Matrix. And, The Matrix 1 and 2 are my all-time favorite movies in the history of film. I said it, and I will fight anybody that doesn't like The Matrix Reloaded, but that's another argument.
That's so good.
Good. Great minds think alike. But there's another one coming out, and I just sort of feel like, okay, they're doing it, but I'll see what it is because of my love for the brand. But it's not going to be the same. It's not going to have the same feeling. So we'll see. Now, that's just my fan perspective. My sort of artist perspective is I actually wanted to talk about this specifically because, I feel like, as fans, we tend to by default say we don't want any studio interruptions from a creator. But as a producer, I will say that sometimes studio notes are good, right? And sometimes, it's not the best thing to give carte blanche freedom to an artist. You can look at the prequels for Star Wars. The prequels for Star Wars are what they were because no one told George Lucas no, right? That said, I just wanted to put that disclaimer out there. I think that EA is more of I feel like they're trying to make changes at EA to put out better content. But what Sean D said was I think important there is that Respawn could do this because Respawn has a track record.
Yes,
and
they have yet to make a bad game.
Right. And so BioWare, unfortunately, it doesn't matter that they've brought us Mass Effect. It doesn't matter that they brought us Dragon Age. It doesn't matter Knights of the Old Republic. None of that matters. What matters is, did you make us money with Anthem? No? Okay, no. We're going to tell you what to do. And that's unfortunately when someone is, signing the checks, they're going to tell you what to do. And you can only run around making your own decisions if you have delivered. And that sucks to hear as a creator. But I think if Anthem was a Destiny killer, we'd be having a different conversation about this. And this is not, again, I'm just speaking as someone who employs several artists and employs animators and creative professionals. I can tell you personally that I want them to be creative, but it will be creative within the lines that I draw because I'm cutting those checks. So I not everyone can thrive in that kind of environment. So my long-winded answer is just to say, like, I expected this, and it doesn't make my excitement any less or greater for the new Dragon Age or Mass Effect games because they weren't super high to begin with, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, listen, to be honest,
and I love those franchises. I need to add that. I'm not like, oh, that was never my bag. That was always my bag. And I'm hoping that Starfield fills the void of Mass Effect. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Who knows? But I want it to be great. It's just that expectations wise, I'm not super high on it. Okay, and I wasn't before this news.
I mean, listen, look, here's the thing. It's unfortunate that if you were to ask me, because I'm a big BioWare fan, I've enjoyed many years of playing their games, and the stories that they have told, the amount of hours I've invested in these worlds is something that can never be taken away from me, even if by some chance they go the way of the dodo. But I think what is telling for someone like me who is a diehard fan of the brand of BioWare, is I am more excited about an HD remaster of Halo, of Mass Effect trilogy than I am of the next Dragon Age and the next Mass Effect and the Anthem 2.0, which they are apparently still working on. And that is really saying something. That is definitely concerning. And it's a situation that has gone from, muddles in secret corners in the industry to outright big articles of crunch and people breaking down and crying in in closets, to literally now I think the dirty laundry has been spilled. And with Casey Hudson leaving now the second time, and the other gentleman leaving at the same time as Casey Hudson, it is a very telling situation. And I don't know where they go from here. I mean, listen, these two icons within BioWare have been there for a very long time. And for them to pick up and leave now, whether this again, one of the things that we have to understand is that when we hear about this probably happened, like Joe said, a month ago, right? And we're hearing about it now because they're making it public. The morale at the company has to be at an all-time low. And when you have very low morale, you have a very difficult time, especially in the business of entertainment, getting people enthused to create these magic moments in gaming. And I think that is a big problem, and I don't know how they're going to fix it. First of all, let's welcome to the show Gaming Forte. What's going on, dude? How you feeling?
Busy? No, I'm good though. that's all. I'm busy. Just a whole bunch of stuff going on. But I'm glad I got here on this topic because this is some crazy stuff.
Yeah, well, yeah, you know what? We'll come to you on the back end, brother. I appreciate you being here. I know last week you got stuck at work, and obviously we're real happy to have you back. Cybernox, let's go to you because you are not only a big Mass Effect fan, but you are an RPG fan. And when you hear the classic BioWare, the legendary BioWare losing Casey Hudson, and losing their other, I gotta get his name. I don't remember his name for some reason.
Mike Darrah.
But Mike Darrah, yeah. When you see Mike is holds a prominent position within BioWare, just as important as Casey. And when you see these two behemoths exit stage left, whether this was something that happened a month ago or happened 3 days ago, it happened, and there's no taking it back. And it seems like there is a big shift in leadership, and just because they filled the spot doesn't necessarily mean that the people they filled that spot with are going to bring the same amount of tenacity. What are your thoughts on this opening story?
I think, like everyone has mentioned here, it is a bit concerning, right? And like you mentioned as well, Boom, this is Casey Hudson's second time leaving the company. Yeah, exactly. It's not his first time, his second time. So there's obviously some sort of turmoil behind the scenes that we're not understanding. We probably won't have the privilege to know exactly what happened, but yes, and for Mark Darrah to leave as well. That's no matter how you feel about BioWare now, how BioWare used to be, it is concerning. You know, these are two prominent members of that company. You know, and we would just love to know what happened there. What was the relationship, right? Because everyone, Sean D mentioned this in the beginning when Casey Hudson was announced that he was coming back to BioWare.
It was supposed to be the right to ship.
Oh my God. Right. Oh, exactly. Everybody was, full of joy, bouncing off the walls. Yes, we got, BioWare is going to make a comeback. Now, BioWare hasn't been BioWare for a long time now.
They've had a significant amount. I tell you something, who is a entrepreneur when it comes to BioWare? A slow-mo backslap. He can tell you up and down who is left and why they're not the same. And I'm sure that Gaming Forte and him are going to talk about this potentially on, what was it, Wednesdays or was it tomorrow's show? Yeah, tomorrow night.
Oh, they guys moved it to Thursdays.
Oh, they moved it to Thursdays. Okay,
we ain't trying to deal with weapon. We ain't trying to deal with RDX.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Get it out of the way. I've gotten out of their way many times before, so don't feel bad about that. But yeah, I'm going to be interested to see if you guys strike up a conversation, because I know that Slow-Mo is going to have some big opinions on it. But yeah, continue, Cyber.
Yeah, so that's pretty much the gist of it. You know, think of if you're a sports fan, think of whatever team you root for getting an amazing player or a player that's done tremendous for you in the past, come back to your team just for a year later or so for him to leave again. You know, it's just devastating to the fan base, to everyone, the organization. Like it just is. You know, marketing wise, it's tough for you to deal with. But I'm just curious as to what's going on with EA. You know, what is it? What made these guys leave? But it's gonna be tough too for whoever takes the realms. What was her name that took over?
Samantha Ryan.
Yes. So she has, I don't feel bad for her. I'm sure she's very capable of doing the job, but like everything that the whole baggage that comes with it, with the whole Bioware name and following up Katie Hudson and dealing with all this stuff. It's all going to lead up to how their next game comes out, right? So that's like tremendous pressure on an individual or like a team, right? Like
and that's the hardest thing, dude. Is like what you just said. Like she has to write the ship. It's more than just that. Like, because look, like again, people. It's the game industry. Like devs leave projects constantly.
100%. Yes.
Yeah, and like these moves happen, but usually not at this level. And the job isn't just how do we put out the next Dragon Age and how do we fix Anthem? It's how do we change the culture of this company, because there is something fundamentally broken here. That's the hardest thing. Again, faces come and go. It's the culture that stays.
Yeah,
that's
great
the
point.
biggest
Exactly. Yeah, so that's what's tough, like can you imagine, if BioWare for some rhyme or reason is they cancel that studio or they, BioWare
that's a real concern, dude.
After the next it's crazy, man. So I know it does happen, it happens kind of like what Mr. Bit said, people do come and go. They have different opportunities. They've been working on project or franchises for a long time and they want to experience something else and try something new. But this is a little bit concerning, but all we can do now is hope that their next games is good enough that EA, keeps that studio afloat, and obviously it also pleases the fan base. So yeah.
Can I just add that I blame Microsoft for this?
Yeah, absolutely.
They should have bought them after Mass Effect 1 came out.
Yeah,
you should have never saw the game on PlayStation or anywhere else.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny you say that, dude, because I've actually been quoted in saying that for years. I think that if you look back to one of the companies that should have become a first, I mean, just if you look again, when you look at the history, when you look at Bioware at the time, when they just produced you Jade Empire or Knights of the Old Republic 1, Jade Empire, a new IP, and Mass Effect, a new IP, all exclusive for the Xbox brand. After Mass Effect became like household name, Microsoft should have purchased them. So you're 100% right in saying so.
And a lot of people think like, they want to kind of harken back to the heydays of the 360, and some people think Peter Moore was the best CEO they had. But at the end of the day, I think his focus on second party deals, and again, this probably also falls to Steve Ballmer and not wanting to sort of invest in first party studios. So I don't want to give all that blame to Peter Moore, but it's that kind of short-sighted thinking that, hey, we're on top or we're doing very well, we're very popular, so we'll just do these second party deals without having to spend any money to secure a studio, not realizing that mentality only holds up when you're the market leader. When you are not, things will not go in your favor. And this is why to this date, they don't have back the Call of Duty rights for DLC and things like that. And so when I say I cried these tears already, you know, I think I cried those tears when I found out that they were bought by EA.
Yeah,
instead of Microsoft.
well, pretty much anyone that's bought by EA, you know, you get nervous. There's no doubt about that for sure. You know, Mag, before I bring you in on the conversation, brother, let me just catch up on a few of the super chats that have come in. First of all, the first one of the evening is from a generous friend of the show, Nightwolf3186. He drops an outstanding and very generous $10 super chat. Says, "Hey, Boom, glad to be here to be listening. I do have to say, with a heavy heart, Bioware legit was my gateway to the Xbox ecosystem. With them buying one, I'm sorry, with when buying one for KOTOR. So yeah, this hurts to hear. Time will tell." Yeah, indeed, man, and that definitely hurts. And Sir X-Men, another generous friend of the show, he drops an outstanding $2 super chat. Says, "Boom, hear about the Power Storm." You're talking about is Power Stones made remake for 2024? I don't know. He said Power. I don't know if it's Power Storms. I've never heard of it. I mean, Power Stone. If that in fact is the case, I don't know why they would wait.
Power Stone for Dreamcast?
Yeah, I don't know. I think he might be making a joke because he says 2024. So I don't know if that's supposed to be a joke. But listen, I hope we do get a new Power Stone or at least an HD remake for those two, because those were fantastic. Mag, look, here's the thing.
Yeah, man.
There is a lot to be concerned about. This is not the only podcast to be talking about this. This is, I would say, world industry news. And Casey Hudson is a name that when you talk about him, he is, and he has been accredited for creating Mass Effect. When you talk about Mark Darrah, he is the executive producer of the upcoming Dragon Age. And coming off of the Dragon Age Inquisition, which, by the way, I absolutely loved, but we do know that game released with them literally not even sure if the game was going to work. Somehow or another, the gaming gods answered the call, and that game was a great game. But that's because they threw everything in the kitchen sink, and obviously they thought they could do that with Anthem. That did not fend off well, and now we're hearing these two behemoths are leaving. First of all, is it concerning that most gamers are excited about an HD remake coming out next year rather than new IPs or new additions to older IPs like Mass Effect and, more importantly, like Dragon Age? And now we have these two big departures, and we don't know if this is the end of it. What are your thoughts? And could they be shut down like the team that brought us Dead Space?
I'm going to answer your first question before I get into my thoughts about this whole thing. The question you asked about it, people are more excited about a remake. I think it's because the remake is much closer on the horizon than, let's say, a Dragon Age 4, because you know that Dragon Age 4 is going to be at least another year or maybe two. My guess is fall 2022. Okay, for that. So I think maybe people just kind of put it on the back burner and kind of reserve their excitement until it gets a little bit closer, right? Because now we heard that the Legendary Edition of Mass Effect is coming this spring.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're only talking 4 months, 5 months. So that's a lot closer, a lot easier to get excited for. Anyways, enough of that. I'm going to take a little bit more of a lighter, if you can believe it. Yes, the mag is not always angry, believe it or not. I'm going to take a little bit more of a lighthearted approach to this. I'm not concerned, and I'll tell you why. And I'm not worried at all. However, I'm going to approach these games, the future games, with a little bit of reserved judgment, meaning I will make my thoughts known once they're in my hands or I read a ton of reviews. I mean, honestly, is it the end of the world or our gaming lives if these games don't work out or if they sink or BioWare goes away? I'm going to actually have to say no, because life moves on. I mean, we're just going to go elsewhere to get our fix. That's how it works. When someone drops the ball, there's always someone better standing behind them picking it up. And it's that simple. That's the way I see it. If Dragon Age flops, guess what? We've got Avowed coming, and we've got Elder Scrolls 6 to take the ball to the end zone. We hope, anyway. We would hope that they would pick up that ball. So if we don't get that fix there, we'll get it elsewhere. And then all of a sudden you're going to forget. BioWare would just become, let's just say they went away and everything flopped and it was all horrible and they shut down. It'll all just be like a nice nostalgic memory. Okay, now how about this? Here, another example. You know, you got old school rock and roll cats out there like me and 80s and 90s hip hop heads, okay? When Aerosmith dropped the hard rock sound, for example, okay, and they started doing power ballads from the 90s and on, or Eminem just got a little bit too old, or, you know, his angry shtick kind of wore off. I mean, did we stop listening to music? No, we didn't stop listening to music. Just like, it's over. They're not doing it anymore. No, we moved on elsewhere to get that fix of what we enjoy.
Yeah,
okay,
true.
That's the way I'm seeing this. So that's why I'm not, you know, I'm not going to cling on for dear life just because they might not make it, right? I mean, you just got to move on. It's just move on to bigger and better things. Now, Anthem, for example, I never really cared for. Okay, I'm not going to lie. I gave it a shot, and I'm just like, this is just, you know, it just wasn't doing it for me. But I'm hopefully optimistic about bringing a new experience to the table. Okay, because they might with that. What is it called? Anthem Next or something like that?
Yeah, it's supposed to Anthem Next or Anthem 2.0, whatever,
right.
however you want.
I actually like that name, Anthem Next. That sounds
me
pretty
too.
cool.
Me too.
Yeah, I like that. So now Dragon Age. Okay, I'm not going to lie. I'd be a little bit sad if it doesn't deliver. Okay, but again, like I said before, we've got Avowed and Elder Scrolls coming. So that might, you know, scratch that itch, so to speak. You know, Mass Effect, the remake, you know, I've already played the living hell out of that trilogy or quadrilogy, whatever the hell you want to call it. I played them all. Okay, and I'm not going to go back and like re-pour another 200 hours into the same story. I mean, that's crazy to me. But I mean, I know that might, you know, upset a few people, but I'm sorry. I'm just not going to go do it. There's way too many new experiences coming up for me to experience that I'm not going to go back and, you know, like I said, drop 200 hours into Mass Effect again. But because I'm a damn fool and I'm a gamer, you know, I'm going to be buying that stupid game day one. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
So
I can talk as much
right now.
Yeah, like I can talk as much smack as I want, but guess what? You know, day one, I'll be like, hey, boom, guess what? I just got Mass Effect Legendary Edition. You know, so anyways, in terms of the game's quality and finished product, I'm not concerned, actually. And the reason why I'm not concerned is because the foundations and the groundwork have already been laid out, which for me, and should be for everybody, is the most important part. Now, the teams, without those leaders, those teams are still going to have to execute. That's the key. You know, and they're going to have to make sure, okay, that machine keeps running. That's what a corporation does. That's what EA does. That's what, you know, McDonald's does. That's what Walmart does. That's what Amazon does. They keep the machine running. Okay, the cogs and the wheels and the parts change, but the machine does not stop running. I work for a corporate structure now, okay, for the better half of a decade, now that I've left the actual front lines of the restaurant trenches for many years. Okay, so now I got a corporate job, and I could tell you, sitting there, that I've seen dozens of top dogs quit, get fired over the years, okay, but the machine keeps running. You know, do you think that, you know, you think $1 billion company is just going to come to a grinding halt because the top dog left? Not a chance. You know, they will be replaced. And only, you know, the only time a company really starts to falter is if they start losing money consistently. I understand Anthem was a big fail, but it's not enough to falter EA or to make them stumble. Not yet. Okay, because they still have a lot of hits. They still got a lot of great hits out there. Games that are making a ton of money for them. And a lot, and even critical success, like you were saying with Respawn. Okay, but if they start losing money consistently, you know, and I mean, if BioWare completely and utterly fails at all those projects, then you know what? Sure, EA is going to have to consider cutting them loose and kill off the dead weight. That's what I see. Now, the other thing is, let's say Anthem and Mass Effect absolutely fail. Okay, let's just say for argument's sake, but Dragon Age is a huge hit. Then guess what? BioWare stays, and EA, they're going to do what they do. They're going to cater to their strengths. They're going to cater to their current strengths. So they're going to say that, okay, Dragon Age, it worked. Anthem did not work. Okay, so we're not a looter shooter company. You guys can stop making those. You know, the Mass Effect situation, you guys aren't really great at that. Okay, you know what? We're going to stop making those. Start focusing on what you're good at. Whether you like it or not, that's the way it works. So they're going to do that. They're going to cater to their current strengths. Another example, by the way, you know, just because Dan Houser left Rockstar, for example, does that mean GTA 6 is going to suck? Unlikely. Okay, they know what needs to be done. Okay, they have the money. They've got the talent. They've got the R&D. Okay, GTA 6, I could almost guarantee without a doubt that GTA 6 is going to be, whenever the hell they decide to release it, is going to be magnificent. You just have to plug in the right people in the right spots to fill those gaps and you got, and hope that the company hires the right people to do so. But we won't know until these games are out into the wild. I mean, we could speculate all we want, but we're not going to know until those games are out and in people's hands. Until then, me personally, and then, again, this is all just my personal opinion, I'd like to stay hopefully optimistic. And I wish him the best, because I honestly do not want to see them go.
Hey,
I mean,
sorry, Boom. I just wanted to just say one. I think I agree with Mag, right? I think a lot of the time we sort of lionize individual figures in these corporate structures,
Yes.
but all of these things are team efforts, right?
No,
And
that's true. That's true for sure. But you got to remember this. When a prominent person that was brought back in steps away for a second time, and they give the excuse, well, we're going to let the new talent, handle it. We're confident that they can do a great job. Here's the thing. It's not just the one person leaving that is the issue. It's the wind that comes out of the sail that is really the problem. And again, I understand Casey is just one guy. I understand Mark is just one guy. Mark was running. He was he was the lead dude for the new Dragon Age, which we have heard behind the scenes has had some troubles. Yeah. And he steps away. And Casey, who left, came back to right the ship, leaves 3 years later. 3 years really isn't that long in the gaming industry. So I absolutely agree with Everborn, where we do sometimes, and I think I'm guilty of this also, thinking that it is just one person when it is in fact a team that makes these well-oiled machines work. But there's something, unfortunately, not really well-oiled about BioWare, and it hasn't been for a long time.
If I could say what Middle Age Gamer was alluding to as well, I definitely agree with, which is, BioWare has come at this point where they are way too big to fail or falter. They have several studios that make totally different games. Yeah, like you have a Mass Effect team, Dragon Age team, a Anthem team, all that jazz. There was a point in EA's structure where there was just all these studios just called BioWare, just like with DICE. Like there's a DICE LA right now, which is being run by Vince Impella, or he's overseeing it.
Yes,
like
he's overseeing everything.
It's a brand inside a brand that's important and valuable to EA. And so what they see is trouble, and what they're also seeing is, okay, so if the next game doesn't hit, all right, yeah, we're in some trouble here. We're in some hot water. We have to prove to our investors and to our consumer base that we're competent. So we got to start making some moves here. That's why you're not seeing like BioWare. BioWare ain't going under anytime soon. It's just, it is worrying. This is the red flag, if there ever was one, of yes, things still aren't right here.
Yeah, I agree. Anything else in closing that you'd like to mention, Mag?
No. That was pretty much it. I just honestly, I just hope for the best, and I just want them to do well. But if they don't, I'm just, there's, like I said, there's going to be someone else to pick up that ball. And that's where, Xbox Game Studios comes in. I don't know what PlayStation is doing or what Sony's doing in terms of, really big, heavy RPG games in the future. I know that they've got, their stable of games and what they're working on. At least we know for the next few years, but not what's in the future. So I'm, we're going to have to look at the Bethesdas. We're going to have to look at the other studios who are
Obsidian.
Obsidian. Yeah, and you got Obsidian working. Other than that, I mean, that's it. I mean, what else can I say? I mean, it's out of our hands, really. So it's up to them entirely. And let's see how it goes. I actually have a feeling. My gut feeling says that Dragon Age 4, I don't know why. I can't shake the feeling. I've got no basis on this, but I have a feeling it's going to be something special. I just have this gut feeling. Whether I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Well, we will definitely see. Before I get to Gaming Forte, Dan the Man Cunningham drops a very generous $5 super chat and says Microsoft should buy the Mass Effect franchise. That would keep it from tanking anymore. Plus, it would open the possibility of spin-off games. Yeah, EA would never sell Mass Effect because it's just too big of an IP. And at this point, them buying Bioware, you'd literally just be buying the name, because there is hardly anyone left there that is part of the old guard. And it just would, again, the worst case scenario, which it's not going to happen tomorrow, it's not even going to happen next year, it could happen in 3 years, in 5 years. Like Mag was saying, that if these games bomb, you can expect that EA is going to cut ties, and the way EA has known to cut ties is to cancel, close studios. That's what they do. That's what they've done with Visceral. That they've done that with a ton of other studios, smaller ones. And listen, who knows at this point? Gaming Forte, you've heard everyone's opinion, but I'm interested to hear yours. Is there, the old saying, where there's smoke, there's fire? Is there something going on at BioWare?
So there's a lot of smoke. There's been a lot of smoke for a long time, and let me just start from the beginning. Like when it comes to what Mag had to say, especially at the end when he was talking about Dan Houser leaving, and how that's not going to be like so much of a huge effect to Grand Theft Auto. For me, that comparison is kind of correct, but then it's kind of in the wrong place, because I think the biggest thing with GTA is he was the head writer, and they got on Grand Theft Auto Online that they've been working on for so long, and they have had people that are proven to build scenarios in that game over the course of this entire generation. That's the reason Grand Theft Auto hasn't had a Grand Theft Auto 6 this generation, because they're just living off Grand Theft Auto 5. So they have already proved that they can have story-based elements even with him not being there. So they can kind of take that same team and build onto the success of 5 when they go into 6. And plus, Grand Theft Auto is a sandbox game anyways. As long as the sandbox is good, that's all that really matters. So that's what people play that game for. But your premise isn't wrong, because I understand where you're coming from on that. It's just that I think they can overcome it just because they have a system in place where they're still building content that's story-based for the online that kind of just helps them use that same buffer to go into the next generation. But my biggest problem with this whole situation when it comes to Dragon Age, because yes, I am a huge BioWare fan, because Mass Effect is my favorite franchise of all time. The only franchise that's even close to it is Halo, because Halo used to be my favorite franchise until I played Mass Effect 2 and 3.
Talk about it.
So let's get into this whole situation right now. So Casey Hudson leaving and coming back. First of all, that was already a red flag when he left the first time. Nobody knew why he left. He just left because he wanted to do something else. That's cool. But guess what? The reason I think there's more to this is because, first of all, you don't just let the two highest profile people on your team walk out the door at the same time, especially when it gets announced that you're showing off for the very first time in 4 calendar days, your next generation Dragon Age game. So right now, this game has no face to it to any type of developer that's going to be talking about this game in the game that you're going to be showing. You got to think, back when Casey Hudson left the first time, Aaron Flynn was the director, was the GM of the company, of the development house. And when he decided to leave and saw that Casey Hudson was willing to come back, he said it put a perspective into place that he felt like it would be turning over he'll be turning it over to good hands.
Yes, he did say that. Indeed. Yes.
He said, knowing that he's coming to come back, I feel like this is an opportunity for me to like kind of explore other things. And I'm going to, and Casey Hudson, we're going to welcome him back with open arms. And we're going to take the next couple of weeks to get him caught up to the systems that we got in place to help him move forward. BioWare and EA basically had that conversation. So you telling me with 4 days left before the announcement of your next big game, you don't have anybody in that spot that's going to basically be riding the ship? We don't know who's going to be running the general manager spot at that company as of right now, because they said even in their own post, the search for a GM is still going on. Then we go to Mark Darrah. I love Mark Darrah because Mark Darrah kind of did something that a lot of people didn't think could happen. Anthem was a game that we didn't even know was the game that they was going to be making. And he basically built a game that was absolutely nothing in the course of what 4 or 5 months,
6 months, right? Yeah.
I think it was like 6. It's unprecedented what he did.
Yeah.
And look, listen, for as many faults as the game had. Okay, I understand the story structure, at least for me, wasn't what I wanted. Those game controls were fantastic.
Oh, yeah. It was good.
Yeah, I loved everything about it, but it still doesn't change the fact that, to me, the one thing that got me about the situation is when Greg Ellis, he's one of the voice actors for Mass Effect, and I know everybody probably saw it on Twitter where him and Mike Darrah was going back and forth about what was going on, about him being basically forced resignation out of the company. And to me, being a person, if I know Dan the way that I see the way he interacts with people on Twitter, and especially how he came back at him about that, the one thing that he did not do is refute the part that he said he was forced to be resigned. He said everything else he was fighting against, except for the part where he said you were forced to resign from the company, and BioWare and their fans should be happy that actually happened, and they should be celebrating. He didn't say anything about that. He didn't come back from it or anything. He basically just let that live where it actually is going to live at. So, and then if you just couple that with the fact that EA is still looking for a general manager, and they're still looking for people to be the face of this game when it comes to the marketing and pushing it out and getting the team all under one umbrella to basically focus on it, that's kind of a huge problem to me. And I think that's where this whole situation is just kind of turned upside down, because Dragon Age is it their biggest IP? No, but it's an IP that a lot of people are looking forward to because it has some of the best story elements that you've ever seen in this type of game. Dragon Age Awakening and the original Dragon Age Origin, love them to death. Some of the best DLC. It's up there with that Mass Effect 2 DLC when you come to all of the stuff that came post after the game actually released. And then you go into Dragon Age 2, same thing, very, very good story beats and everything. And I mean, think about it, even Dragon Age Inquisition.
Inquisition was fantastic, dude.
A game that I didn't too much care about. I still loved it. I still liked it. It wasn't what I truly wanted because I hated the way that the multiplayer was kind of situated, but it was still unparalleled to its design. And guess what? That game won Game of the Year that year.
Yeah, it sure did.
So Dragon Age to a lot of people means a lot. So Mag, I do agree with you that there are games like Evolved and there's games like that out there. Mm-hmm. But the problem is I'm still looking for my next Mass Effect game.
Mm-hmm. That was going to be a point.
There is nothing out there. Like, there's probably a replacement, and you'll never know what that replacement is until you see it. Yeah. But right now, there is nothing in my mind that there's no game as of right now that I feel gives me that type of breadth and scope like a Mass Effect did. There's no game that I can see on the horizon right now. Maybe it is a game like Avowed. Even think about it. Fallout is in the same category. People love Fallout, and people to this day will tell you that Outer Worlds is the closest thing, and it probably does Fallout better than Fallout does it. But do they say it's better than Fallout? Do they say Fallout? Dude, Outer Worlds is way better than Fallout. They say they might have better systems, but they look at it and say, yo, Fallout is still a better game. All they got to do is implement some of the stuff that the Outer Worlds did, and it will become an even better game than it actually is to this day. But it doesn't replace it because those games have a standard and a pillar that people prop them up on. As much as I can't stand Mass Effect Andromeda, I still say it's a good it's a good game, but to me, it's just a bad Mass Effect game. I say the same thing about Star Wars. Most Star Wars games are better than any movie out there because of the way that they're set up and the way that they're actually drawn together. But the difference is Star Wars movies are good for the most part, but there's some that are just bad Star Wars movies, and that's just the way that goes.
I was with you forte until you said something that was good, because that Rise of Skywalker.
Oh no,
Jedi,
listen, we don't consider those Star Wars movies.
Okay,
Those are Star Wars movies.
Please,
those
as
movies
long as
are
you clarified
terrible.
that.
Good movies.
No, we don't characterize episodes 6, 7, 8, and 9 as Star Wars movies. Disney is trying to find a way to wipe those off the face of the earth.
7's the best Star Wars. I'm sorry.
I like
Okay, we're not about to turn this into
Rogue One.
We're not going to turn
literally listen. When Disney gets a Star Wars right, they make a Star Wars right. Like Rogue One, oh my goodness, it is the best Star Wars
movies.
Oh, look! He left.
One of the best.
And Mando.
You couldn't handle
the let's not turn this into a Star Wars conversation, because we
are very passionate. You hear Star Wars, I activate.
Don't get me started.
So the only thing I will say about that is, and just to basically pivot off of that thing, the biggest reason I think this is going to hurt, because even knowing I think they were let go for whatever reason, I think they were basically said, hey, here's your walking papers, and we're just going to find somebody else to run this division. It's going to suck, because the vision of BioWare were these two people. That's the reason that a lot of people are kind of worried, because you won't get the same vision from somebody else. Somebody else is going to have a completely different vision than these guys had when it came to it. And maybe this might be good for the game in general. We don't know until we actually see it. But as of right now, being fans of what we already had, now we're in that unknown territory. It's just like Halo was. Unknown territory with 343. We know what Bungie was going to do. What is 343 going to do? And like it or leave it, a lot of people are more upset at what we got from 343 than happy with 343, because it's a completely different take on what one company did to another. And that's how this whole Dragon Age and this whole Mass Effect thing is going to play out. And one thing I will say, Boom, you are absolutely correct. I didn't think about it till you said it. The fact that we are more excited for the legendary edition of Mass Effect to come out, I didn't even think about that, because that's my most anticipated game that's coming out next year. Nothing else, because I don't think God of War is coming next year. Because if God of War does come next year, that would be it for me. But I that's literally the number one game I'm looking forward to, because I love that franchise that much. And that is a dang shame that there's nothing else from this development house that even stands a kindle to what they're going to release in early next year when it comes to that collection.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of what he said real quick, because I think he hit the nail on the head. I think most people are more concerned not that Casey Hudson is leaving, but to see another one of these popular franchises potentially die off, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much look at Splinter Cell for an example. You know, here's a franchise that was beloved. It still is loved by many, and we can't get another game. Like I think that's the most concerning thing.
Yeah, well, listen, that's coming. I don't know when it's going to come, but it's pretty disheartening when a whole generation goes by and no new Splinter Cell. But listen, folks, this has been a great opening topic. I didn't expect it to take an hour, but we do have 7 people on this panel, and hopefully you are enjoying. And if you are, want to help me out, please consider hitting that like button before you get out of here. I missed a super chat earlier from our very good friend and generous friend of the show, Sir X-Men, drops a $2 super chat and says Power Stone in 2024. Dreamcast guy leaked it. And we also have someone here, Kevin S. He says Capcom had a leak. Yeah, they did. And he says Power Stone remake in 2024 and Final Fight remake. I don't know if those two are going to happen, but I would gladly sign that check to bring those two classics. Again, one thing that Capcom is doing right is knowing when to pull the trigger on classics. And if they bring those two back, they're going to make a lot of money. The Wise Old Gamer, he drops an outstanding $2 super chat and says, I only have $2. One for EA and half of Bad Bit's stash. There you go, Mr. Bad Bit. Someone's a friend of yours. Look at that. Look at that stash. There you go. Listen, I want to move on to a topic that, for me, was incredibly fun to write. It is one that I talked about over a year ago. It is one that I am going to put the feather in my cap when it comes true that I was one of the first podcasters to talk about it. And of course, I am talking about Metal Gear Solid. Now, honestly, as a gamer that has been holding a controller since 1978 when they had one button, one of my top 5 games of all time, in a list that has thousands upon thousands of games, is Metal Gear Solid 1 for the PlayStation 1. Now, obviously, with Kojima rumored to be already in pre-production of Silent Hill, there is only one developer with the chops to pull off a remake or a perfect recreation of one of the best action stealth titles of modern gaming. And I am talking about Blue Point Games, who just brought us Demon Souls as a PlayStation 5 exclusive and a launch title for the new hardware. And in a story that I pulled from Screen Rant, a leaker who previously called God of War Ragnarok the announcement alleges that Metal Gear Solid Remake is being developed by Blue Point Games now. And here's the thing, for complete clarity, this is not a rumor. As a matter of fact, he has this on good authority that it has been in development for over 3 years, which is pretty incredible. Now, the industry insider's name is he goes by the name Moore's Law is Dead. And he allegedly is claiming that Metal Gear Solid Remake is being developed by Blue Point Games, has been in development for 3 years, and will retain the very similar controls to Metal Gear Solid 5, which is great because Metal Gear Solid 5 controlled like a dream. The leaker also claims that Blue Point Games has been cautious with the alleged remake, and they believe that this is something that they don't want to, quote-unquote, mess up. Now, if more is to be believed, this supposed Metal Gear remake has been done from the ground up using experience the team has gathered from its previous remakes. Now, look, it goes without saying that many people in the industry consider the leaks that come from Moore's Law is Dead to be fairly trustworthy, though it has not been officially announced either by Konami or by Sony. And honestly, we don't know how closely Konami is even involved. They simply might have just been cut a check by Sony, and the original IP has been sent to Blue Point to just go crazy with. Now, I want to go to some of our panel members here, and I'll start with Mr. Badbit. Mr. Badbit, look, here's the thing. You heard last week we talked about one of the things that I admire most about Sony, and it's how they go back to what made their brand great, what put them on the map. And some of those games are Resident Evil. Some of those games include Silent Hill, which is rumored to be being remade. And now Metal Gear Solid. This obviously is going to be a PlayStation 5 exclusive. There's no doubt about it, especially if Sony is putting money into this, especially where if you think about the rumor of Blue Point Games being acquired next year are true, this is going to be an exclusive and a big remake for one of the best action stealth franchises. What do you think about what about this leaker had to say, and are you excited?
Yeah, man. I'm not a big Metal Gear guy. Never have been. The series kind of always just flew past my radar because for the longest time I was a Nintendo kid, and then I was an Xbox teen, and now here we are. So, the remake does things for me the same way Demon Souls did, because I get excitement by excitement, or I get excited by excitement. So like I'm excited because I see everybody kind of freaking out about Demon Souls, so I pop in. I want to see what all the hubbub's about. Blue Point is a very skilled developer, and I think some of what the leaker has said is true in terms of we've been hearing about this Metal Gear thing for about 2 years, maybe 1.5 years, around there. So we've been hearing murmurs of it, and then it being amplified back in January and then in March with the Silent Hills rumors.
Yep.
Something has to be true here, right? So something where there's smoke, there's fire. Having these things repeatedly said over and over again yeah, to a degree, these are actually safe bets. To anybody concerned that now the Metal Gear Solid franchise is going to be an exclusive to PlayStation, I would revert back to the topic we just talked about with BioWare, right? I think Everborn, you said it, one of the biggest regrets was Microsoft not buying BioWare.
Yeah.
I would much rather see BioWare with Microsoft than what they're are right now. Just like I'd much rather see this game be exclusive to a Sony platform than Konami being Konami with it. So
Right.
this excites me. The news excites me. I want to see what Bluepoint does. And yes, I think I said this on a previous show. I think the best thing Konami could do is really license out those IP. And I think that's the thing that Sony is probably the best at in terms of shaking hands and making those types of deals.
Yep.
And yeah, with Bluepoint at the helm, they then would have a library to start making all sorts of remakes and seeing what sticks and seeing what doesn't. The one thing that I do think this leaker's full of shit on is how it's going to be the same controls of Metal Gear 5. That's not how Bluepoint makes games. They use everything out of their own tool set. So everything, so like the Demon Souls engine's the same engine that ran on their previous engine with Shadow of the Colossus. So I don't think they're using Fox engine for this, and it's not theirs. So they would want to use something in-house for that. So I think this is going to play more like the original Metal Gear than a more modern take on it, for good or for bad. I don't know what that translates to. So Bluepoint's really good at taking the ingredients that makes a game special, and for the most part, taking out the stuff that didn't and throwing in their own spices to make something lively.
Hey,
so I'm pumped.
Can I just add something, bad bit?
Yeah.
You know, Moore's Law is dead. He's been a little sketchy in the past. I think he was talking about some of that RDNA 3 stuff in the PlayStation, and
no, I'm not saying
I mean?
the guy is a lock for everything. I mean, some people in the chat are going back and forth about how he's gotten things wrong. Sure, he has, but again, we're not talking about what he's gotten wrong. We're talking about a particular rumor that has come out, and again, the reason why I wanted to make it a story is not only because it was relevant, is because it's something that Mr. Bearbit and I and BitCloud Gaming have been talking about for over a year.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So,
but Everborn,
I'll tell you what, though, I hope it's true.
Oh yeah, me too.
Oh yeah.
Let's be clear. But I do agree with Bad Bit that I think just judging by the Demon Souls remake that I have here on the PS5, I think it'll stay. I don't think it'll be like a hybrid of 5 and 1. I think it's probably just going to be Metal Gear Solid, but looking like stunning. But the question is, if that is the case, do those mechanics translate well to today?
That's a great question. I
don't know that they do. I think they were great at the time, but
yeah, I think when it comes to Shadow of the Colossus, that is one thing with Bluepoint that I'll say sometimes it's to a fault, where they remake a game. They're like, no, this thing is so pivotal. It has to be there, even if it kind of hurts the experience. I see that with Demon Souls. I kind of see that with Shadow of the Colossus. But even with Shadow of the Colossus, though the controls are still a bit obtuse because the game purposely did that, they made it a little less obtuse. So I think there's ways that they can. They got to be very careful and delicate, but I think they could pull it off. I mean, Demon Souls is also a prime example of like how many things they could get right and the little things that they get wrong. Little dings here or there.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. Everborn, we'll go to you next. First of all, for me, at least as a gamer, who's owned everything. When I think of the Metal Gear franchise, I always equate it with a Sony PlayStation machine. Yes, has other Metal Gears been on the Xbox? Sure. But for me, Metal Gear Solid, the first one, is a game that I always think to the PlayStation 1. And again, I've told this story numerous times about my brother and I buying an E3 tape from Dragon's Den in Yonkers many, many, many moons ago, and how many times my brother and I watched that tape we wore out the tape. That's how excited we were. We've never seen anything like it, and it's probably in both of our top fives. I think I'm confident in saying, but a remake with Blue Point at the helm excites me for a lot of reasons. One is the fact that we've seen remakes from them before, and their games are always gorgeous. There's just no doubt they're gorgeous to look at. But what's interesting is something that Mr. Badbit said, is that they reproduce what we remember the game to be, but add their own flavor, making it better. And for better or the worse, we don't know. For you, is this something that you want to see happen?
100%. 100%. I also, funny enough, I'd like to see Sony buy Blue Point Games.
Yeah, probably. That's a rumor that's been going on for a while. That announcement's coming.
I think I think it's a great fit for them. But I just seeing Metal Gear come back and maybe being a little bit less weird is, that excites me. And I think that if this is true, like, it could, I don't know, man. I think you think people are going crazy over Demon Souls now. Like, just seeing them taking full advantage of the hardware that's in the PS5. I don't know, man. It's going to be something. Now, and if this happens, Kojima wouldn't be a part of it, right?
No, he would not. No, this is he had nothing to do with it.
About that?
Not really.
Probably like if the most, probably consultation and probably his blessing, but that all depends on how much involvement Konami has with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, man. No, I'm super here for it.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to see I want to see Solid Snake on the GWB bridge again.
Well, look, I'll say this. Again, it's one of those situations where we have to say it again, where there's smoke, there's fire. There's a lot of things happening with the Metal Gear franchise. Obviously, the Sony film has just been announced, right? Oscar Isaac has been announced to play Solid Snake. That's pretty freaking cool. And obviously we have to talk about the rumors that have gone really, like, I mean, from just a whisper to like hot burning rumors that Sony is on the verge of purchasing Blue Point, which would make sense. They work with them exclusively, and they're just a great fit. Do I think this is going to happen? Yes. Has the person that I spoken to been more on the money with his information? Yes. Again, I'm only running this story, and again, it's not just because Moore's Law is the guy, but this is the story, folks. If you don't like the guy, if you don't trust him, I hear you. But I've been following this lead for over a year, and I think that it's true. Sean D, for you personally, how big would it be for the PlayStation Nation to get Metal Gear Solid 1 remade by one of the best developers in the industry to do remakes in Blue Point?
So I'm going to talk not from my perspective. I'm talking from people who are fans of Metal Gear Solid, Demon Souls, and what was the other one they did?
Shadow of the Colossus.
Shadow of the Colossus. Let me talk from their perspective, because none of those games are really my bag, but friends that I've known who played Shadow of the Colossus and Demon Souls, they said that playing the remakes from Blue Point, it's like having the spirit of the old game, but feel like you're still playing something like with the new spin. So when it comes to them making Metal Gear Solid, I don't think there is like a better match. And the reason why I wouldn't be concerned if Kojima's not part of it, because they tend to stick to the core or the soul of the original. So I wouldn't be surprised though, with Sony having such a good relationship with him, them like asking for his input, possibly adding in a couple of new, quirky spins that he does into the new game, Um, I can't believe that Sony has not bought them yet, only for the fact that we're all happy that Microsoft like can take old games and pretty them up and make them look and run better. But the thing that Bluepoint can do is the fact that they not only make them look better, they can like transform them and almost bring them up to date to play at today's style. And what I'm talking about that is I'm talking about the controls, kind of like what Bad Bit was saying. Yes, is Shadow of the Colossus meant to play in that sort of what did you say, obtuse way? Yes, but they were able to tweak it so that it didn't feel as problematic as it was back in the day. And I just think they are the de facto dev team for making remakes.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And I think they're just gonna, if it's true, and I believe it is, they're gonna knock it out of the park. Let's get Cybernox in here. Cybernox, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, I don't know where this lands for you, but you mentioned Splinter Cell, and I think there is no equal to obviously Splinter Cell than Metal Gear Solid. Is that a game that you'd be looking to play on your new PlayStation 5?
You took the words right out of my mouth, Boom. We're like starving for some type of stealth genre game, going back to Metal Gear and Splinter Cell, and the only thing that I would be concerned about, obviously, Bluepoint has more than legitimize themselves as they're capable of like taking on many different tasks, many different genres, kind of like what you guys said, Shadow of the Colossus, Demon Souls. Like these are two completely different games, and they've knocked it out of the park both times. And for them to come in and tackle a franchise like the Metal Gear Solid would be amazing. I think they would do a tremendous job. I think Sean D was right. They kind of have that that sense that, hey, we have to stick to the original or keep some of that original soul, but also make it our own, which could be extremely difficult to do. But the only thing that would worry me is if people only look at Bluepoint as, okay, they are only a remake studio. They're not coming up with their own let's say with their own IPs or something like that, from here on out. That would be my only concern. I know it's something very minute. It's something that is not too relevant, but some people may look at it like that. And I'll
be honest with you, just to jump in for I tell you something. Again, one of my biggest complaints with Microsoft is that they don't celebrate their classic franchises. I went on a bit of a tangent on Thursday. Joe had to walk me off the ledge. I wish Microsoft had a team that they could go and say, you know what, we're going to bring back Crimson Skies. We're not going to put a lot of money into it, and we're going to let them go crazy with it. Let's bring back Banjo-Kazooie with let's go crazy with it. I mean, I can go on and on about how many IPs they're sitting on. Cameo, for instance, why not bring that back? That's an IP that came out once on the 360 as a launch game and has a tremendous lore and incredible characters. It's a great rare IP, but
Sure.
we'll never see that. So I kind of wish Microsoft had that.
I think Microsoft answer to that is just backwards compatibility, right? Like you're able to play a bunch of those games now at their state. But I completely agree with you. If there was a way that they'd had a dedicated team to remaster these or remake these and bring the mechanics up to today's standards, that would be phenomenal, or maybe even have their own little touch, kind of like what Bluepoint's doing. Yeah, I agree with that. But that would, like I said, a very small concern that I would have is that fans just potentially looking at Bluepoint as a remake only studios, but they do a phenomenal job, right? You look at Demon Souls right now, even though it's a 2015 or 2013 game.
Which one?
Demon Souls, which they released.
Demon Souls is old. Demon Souls old.
So it's still that same game. It has that feeling of that same game, but like Sean D mentioned, they modernize it, right? Like they bring it to today's age. So that would be my only concern. The only one other thing obviously would be that unfortunately the Metal Gear franchise has also come to the Xbox, and and I think if Blue Point was if they were going to remake it, it would remain exclusively on PlayStation for sure.
Yeah,
So
no doubt about that. Yeah,
no doubt
I
about that.
yeah,
So,
that would actually stay. And again, it'd be one of those games that would make someone who might have not purchased a console in a while, or maybe moved on to another console, let's say the Xbox or even the Switch, see Metal Gear Solid, remember the joy that they had as a kid playing it, and it's like, oh my God, that's what the game looks like. I'm buying a PlayStation 5. Whether it be the digital or the physical, it wouldn't matter. And that's what Sony does. They figure out a way to get you to buy their hardware with their excellent and well thought out software.
The nostalgia for the Metal Gear Solid franchise, the Metal Gear franchise, is there for sure.
Yeah.
And a lot of people like kind of starving for a stealth game. That would be like a perfect announcement. I'm just not sure what the relationship with Konami and Sony is. Like that's the only gray area for me. I don't know if they have a good relationship. It was just a Kojima thing that went, array, but besides that, man, Blue Point is more than capable of tackling, in my eyes, pretty much any franchise that they give them the reins to. So yeah, it would be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, absolutely. Mag, let's get your opinion on this. Where do you fall with a Metal Gear remake by Blue Point Games? I mean, again, you just got your hands on a PlayStation 5.
Yes, sir.
You're enjoying it. And this should be another game to enjoy. Now, we have no idea when it's going to be announced, if it's going to be announced. It has not officially been announced. But do you want to see this happen?
Yes, I do. Now, before I get into it, this I see some people in the chat talking about this Moore's Law is dead guy. I actually heard some other shows where they were like, guys, it's coming. Moore's Law dead is coming. He predicted God of War. He predicted God of War Ragnarok. So he's right. And I'm like, guys, take it easy. I predicted God of War 2 the minute I finished the first one. Okay, so let's just relax. The minute I finished and put the controller, I went to myself, damn, that was awesome. I wonder when part 2's coming. Doesn't make me a prophet. Okay, but anyways, enough about this guy. If this is coming, and I actually do think that this is coming, first of all, I'm all in for a Metal Gear remake, especially if Blue Point is making it. Now, okay, I know some people are going to call me up and they'll be like, hey, Meg, weren't you talking smack 20 minutes ago about Mass Effect? You wouldn't go back to an old game? Well, guess what? Okay, I lied. Okay, and you know what the thing is? I'm allowed to. You know why? Because I'm a father of 2. And the golden rule of fatherhood is dads have full veto power and carte blanche to contradict themselves at any given moment. You know that it's true. So I'm saying to everybody in the chat right now calling me out, don't piss off Papa Mac because I'm going to send you all to your room with no dessert. Let me get this out of my system. Now that that's cleared up, back to Metal Gear. Besides the jokes, okay? Besides all the jokes, here's honestly my reason for wanting to revisit Metal Gear, okay? I gotta at least, justify what I'm saying here, okay? I'm not just going to say it for the sake of saying it. Metal Gear honestly had a profound effect on me. It really did. And for my gaming. It entirely changed my outlook on what gaming was capable of. Sounds melodramatic? Just give me a second. Let me explain this, okay? Every game up to that point was fairly linear, was a fairly, linear experience, okay? So was Metal Gear. However, it added an element of choice and freedom, okay, on how you could make it from, point A to point B. Boom, you and I grew up we played games in the late 70s and the 80s. Okay, it was all about, getting Mario to the top of the whatever, the ladder, and then knock Donkey Kong off. That was it. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. There was no other way to do it. Okay? Now, rewind the clocks back 30 years, just like I was saying. I only had 2 or 3 games at a time back then. It's not like now where I've got thousands and thousands of games at my disposal. And I would replay the hell out of those games over and over and over. Why? Because I didn't have any other games. But the other thing is I would do it I would get faster and better. But that was it. I mean, I could finish Super Mario Brothers 2 with 1 life in under an hour. No problem. And defeat that big fat frog with the crown on his head. No problem. I could do that. But there was no real incentive to do that. I was doing it just for the sake of doing it. I had nothing else. Then Metal Gear Solid came along. Yes, I beat the game in a fairly straightforward manner, okay? But then something interesting happened. There was an allure after the fact. Now you got to understand, this is not like now. I'm talking back then when this was this was new. This was revolutionary to us.
Yep.
Okay. Something that would bring me back to play over and over and over again. And that one word is strategy. Dispatching bad guys in different ways on different runs of the game always brought me back for more. Maybe I could do it this way this time so that maybe I won't get caught. And then I found myself, I was still a kid, I was still a teenager. I found myself sitting in school. Sorry, Mom. Sorry, Dad. Or I was in bed wondering what different strategy I could try the next time, so that I can get a better result or maybe get a better grade or maybe not get caught. And that, folks, changed my entire trajectory of what gaming did for me. Now, with all that nostalgia out of the way, okay, bring that back. Okay, let's bring it all back to modern gaming with state-of-the-art graphics, sound, gameplay, frames, etc. That's got me so jazzed. Coupled with the prospect of Blue Point making this game, I'm all in.
Yeah.
Okay, as for their latest effort, Demon's Souls on PS5, I have been offered by the First Lady of Gaming herself. The mighty Ashen Luca has offered to play, just like you, Forte, has offered to play Demon's Souls with me because I am a Demon's Souls virgin. Okay. And in a few weeks, I'm going to be picking it up. So we're going to be doing that. Okay. But because I hear it's nothing short of magnificent and I want to do that. Now, Blue Point, these guys got a pedigree. On that note, if Sony were to make another power move like they did with Insomniac earlier this year,
Yeah.
picking up Blue Point would be / should be their next biggest move. Look at how well Demon's Souls is doing both with gamers and critics. Okay, they didn't have a lot to launch with the PS5. Let's face it. Both systems. Well, let's not get into that. But anyways, the point is the PS5 didn't have a ton to launch with, but Demon's Souls helped fill that gap. Now, imagine as PlayStation players, as this generation goes on, okay, are waiting for your God of Wars or your Uncharted 5s or your Days Gone 2 or your Last of Us 3. Okay, you could fill in those time gaps because there's going to be big gaps in there, okay? And regardless of the fact of whether COVID-19 ends or not in the next year, it's still messed up a lot of stuff for a whole year that a lot of stuff is going to be delayed, okay? And so with all those time gaps, imagine throwing in a Metal Gear remake. How about a Silent Hill remake by Blue Point as well, et cetera, and et cetera. And judging by their pedigree, Blue Point and Sony, they got a match made in heaven. And they could garner absolute serious success this generation. And, if they get them on their team and they do it exactly what I was just saying, you've got your first party games and in between you start plugging in some absolute stunning ground up remakes, you've got a match made in heaven, man. You cannot go wrong.
Yeah.
So this is where I kind of go against. I have no problem with them tackling the Metal Gear franchise. Why not just let them do a soft reboot or make?
You don't have to. That's not their forte. And we're gonna get to forte in a second.
Yeah. But
yeah,
that's my only thing.
You let them do what you let them. Yeah.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you let them do what they're good at doing, and they're good at taking a game that is an IP classic for Sony and making it a grand. And what's incredible about Demon's Souls, a perfect example, is even people who do not like the genre, because it's a PlayStation 5 exclusive and because it looks so well, it's selling to another crowd. I thought it was going to simply be just a niche kind of a thing, but they knew what they were doing. Obviously, Sony knows more than I do, and it's selling to people outside of the genre. Now, granted, people are probably going to die as many times as I have and not have the patience, but they're still buying it nonetheless, and that they're buying it because of the pedigree of Blue Point, the pedigree of Sony, and the pedigree of the Souls franchise. So again, a Metal Gear Solid, I wouldn't want them to soft reboot it, because at that point you're taking that's a classic gem that does not need remaking. You can make it look prettier and maybe potentially add some stuff that Kojima had to cut out for time that wouldn't fit on the disc, like they did for Gears when they redid Gears. And they added the whole mission that was originally only on the PC. Now it was on the Xbox. That's fine. But to do a soft reboot, I would not sanction that at all.
So
That's just me.
Let me ask you a question. Let's say Demon Souls released in the same year as like God of War and the remake and other big titles, right? Let's say Last of Us 3 or something like that, or the next Spider-Man. Do you think it would have done as well?
Absolutely, 100%.
If it released like right now, because people are like just need a game to play on the PS5? I'm not talking about the quality of the game. The quality of the game is there. The caliber of the game. The studio does a lot. The studio is phenomenal. I'm not putting anything against it. I'm just asking. Demon Souls.
I think it could hold its own.
Okay, that's fine.
As
long as it's good, because it's going to be the same game. Like
it's fine, dude. Again, you got to remember when that game. The last time anyone played Metal Gear Solid, it was Twin Snakes on the GameCube, and that's 20 years ago. So the game is well out of. I mean, the game is so old; it's older than some of the gamers actually playing it. So it would be technically a new IP. But let me bring in Gaming Forte and then get to the last topic, which is the Halo one. And I really want to get to that. We're already at the 135-hour mark of the show. Gaming Forte, for you, is this a big deal for Sony that they could put another gem in the crown of exclusives only available on PlayStation?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like that's, you kind of took the words right out of my mouth. It's kind of a good thing, so I don't ramble about it. The fact that these games are already so old. It's like them just doing touch-ups and making them. I mean, say pretty much giving it the Demon Souls treatment. Really speaks to the fact that they could probably change some of the walkie stuff that actually was making the game, like hindered you playing the game with some of the control schemes. A lot of us didn't realize how bad they were back then, because that's how great the games were. Especially like Twin Snakes, because that was PSP. Can you imagine actually finally getting the chance to play that on a proper controller? Where it's
just go back and play Resident Evil 1 with the tank controllers. It's impossible.
No.
You gotta shoot. You gotta shoot or move. What are you doing?
Yeah, I don't know. You can't do both. You can't do both. So no, I think that will be a really, really good move for them. Bluepoint, like you said, guys said earlier, Bluepoint, I think at this point is pretty much as good as purchased. They just haven't announced anything yet. They have done amazing work for Sony over the years, and they kind of just proved that they are actually one of those studios that can do that. And then, like I said, this just opens up another avenue for them just to bring back more and more games. You know, I wouldn't be mad if Bluepoint was basically just a game that just remastered everything for PlayStation going forward, because they've shown that they have the ability to do that. They can literally be the remaster IP freaking studio that they go to for all of their games, so they can keep all of their first party studios concentrating on new IPs and new stuff going forward. So that would just be another benefit to them, on top of if they ever got to the point where they wanted to probably make their own standalone IP, they could probably do that too. But they're an asset that I believe anybody would be happy to have. I mean, for God's sake, it's just a match made in heaven for the things that they're doing. So I don't think there's anything wrong with them tackling something like this. I think, and we were talking about it earlier with Kojima probably more than likely not being a part of it, because we already know that Konami basically ain't gonna let Kojima within 2 inches of anything Metal Gear, because they just don't want it to get Kojima-fied. And in some instances, I think this might be the one caveat or the one instance where you kind of do just want to see another take on what they can actually do with the franchise. Even if they do stick to the regular formula, they changed enough in Demon Souls to make it feel more fresh and more vibrant and stuff. They stuck to the main formula, but they did change a little bit of the things in the game that actually makes it a lot more playable and understandable. And I think that's kind of what they could do with the Metal Gear franchise. But even if they went out and did something brand new, I would not be opposed to getting Metal Gear back to the espionage game that it truly was, because over the course of over the generations, that game got further and further from what we always thought Metal Gear was. The more and more, because you could definitely see Kojima tinkering and getting full-blown Kojima. You know, Metal Gear turned into Death Stranding by the time we got to it, when it came to the way that the games and systems were operating, which isn't a bad thing, but it's good. I would like to see them get back to the essence of what Metal Gear actually was when we first played it all the way back on, you know, the PS1, PS2, and all of those stuff like that. But that's all I really have on that. So we get to that last subject. But I do want to rant 2 seconds on something.
Sure.
God dang it, Bad Bit. Tell me why this PlayStation 5. I got freaking Sackboy today. I bought the digital copy. Because my daughter was like, what's this? I said, oh, that's Sackboy. She's like, oh, I want to play that. Cool. So you get the PS4 and the PS5 copy when you do that. Why does this game install both copies of the game?
It's an error with what's going on.
It installs both copies, and then when I go click on it, I'm like, why am I out of space on my system? You're on mute. You're muted, sir.
You know what? The Sony delegation, they didn't want me to speak the truth. I'm preaching you, man. It is so ridiculous. And it goes with the smart delivery. You don't know how important smart delivery is until you download a cross-platform game on PlayStation. It happened with me with Little Big Planet twice. It deleted the PS5 one for some reason. And then just like I was playing the PS4 version, I was like, what happened to my haptic? And then I was like, oh, I'm a big dumb idiot. And then it happened to me, what else game? Bug Snacks. Which now
game of the year right there, brother.
Honest to goodness, Kyle told me the end of that game, and I am in. It gets crazy. But like it happened to me there too. And so I'm just like,
look. So I just wanted to bring. I already know you knew about it, but that's just crazy to me because. And then on top of that, when you click, like I had to uninstall the PS4 version, but then when I went to click on the dashboard, for some reason the PS5 version is installed, but it shows the picture of the PS4 version. So when I click on it, it says download. I'm like, what do you mean download? I have it downloaded, but you got to hit the menu button and switch the freaking platform to PS5, and then the game launches. I'm like, yo. What is this? So just a little bit of rant, but I'm gonna give you back your show for a second.
Honestly, you took the words out of my mouth. That's the exact same. That's please. I didn't think smart delivery was. I mean, I like it because it makes it simple, but I didn't realize how breathtakingly awesome it is until I just experienced what I did over the last 30 minutes of trying to install a game that I literally have a PlayStation 5 for. And why are you installing the PS4 version?
Well, look, again, little hiccups. Hopefully they can figure this out, but I want to move on to one of the biggest topics. And again, we're going to go into overtime here, folks, because this is something that can't be rushed. In the gaming industry, there are a few IPs that stop gamers in their tracks when new information is made available by either leaks, scoops, insider knowledge, or by the actors or actresses that sometimes talk about things when they shouldn't. And that may in fact have been the case for topic number 3, actor Bruce Thomas, who has done mocap for the Master Chief in Halo 4, Halo 5 Guardians, and now Halo Infinite. In a recent interview and a snippet of something that was posted to Reddit, stated this: as far as I know, it's in the can, ready to go for next spring. Now, just for clarification, spring, according to the gamers, developers, schedule, is between between March 21st and June 21st. So there's a big open window of where this game could launch. Now, it should be noted that none of this has been confirmed by either 343 Industries or, of course, Microsoft. But if there's any truth to this, the Xbox gaming community will be ultra excited. Now, with the July 23rd reveal, 343 received a ridiculous and unreal amount of criticism for the underwhelming graphical appearance running on the Xbox Series X. And I, for one, think from a gameplay point of view, the game looked awesome. And the story, as we know, it includes the Banished, led by Atriox. And there are also rumors that the Flood would be making a return. And that is awesome. Now, it's the graphics, in my opinion, and many Xbox gamer opinions, that needed to be polished up. And if the Xbox Series X and S sees a release this spring, it appears that all hands are on deck at the at Microsoft, and we've actually heard rumors or rumblings that they even have other teams from their first party, 23 studios helping to make this happen. Now, we do know that 343 Industries is working on a year end update for Halo Infinite, and we don't know exactly when that is going to be released or when they're going to talk about it. I want to go first to Mr. Badbit on this. A lot of people don't know this. Yes, he's a PlayStation guy. Yes, he has a PlayStation, an incredible PlayStation show called The Trophy Room, but he is also one of the biggest Halo fans this side of Texas. Do you think that there are any truths to this? I mean, remember, the actor, they get things wrong all the time, and maybe he spoke out of place. Could we actually see this game release?
I was pointing things out of frame that are Halo related. So for me, yeah, probably the actor's wrong. Actors say a lot of crazy shit. So for me, I kind of see this as like, well, he has no idea what he's talking about. He doesn't have the release schedule or like the day-to-day operations at hand. He just did mocap maybe a few months ago or even like a year ago, and he's talking in generalities. I hope we see something at the Game Awards that kind of restarts the Halo messaging. Maybe you get Phil up there. Maybe you just see a snippet of the trailer. Maybe you see Mr. Krabs, who was the voice of that brute, say something crazy. I don't know, but we need to get this thing back on track. Because it's not to say it's not looking good, but it is harmful for Microsoft, who's been trying to change the image of how people perceive their games, and how their games come out. So, it's important that this game comes out when it's ready. I don't want this game to come out. It's only the multiplayer in spring. I don't want this game released in part. Give me something. Yeah, give me something tangible here. Give me something that's going to give me hope in the Xbox brand. The other thing that I really do hope to at the Game Awards, like real talk, because we're probably going to see the trailer for that Uncharted movie. Why not just show us something of the Halo show? That'd be freaking hella cool. Yeah. So I really hope we get something out of Game Awards for that year-end update for Halo fans. Kind of just being transparent of where they're at with development and where they're planning to go. But even then, that's too soon, because, I mean, the trailer came out, people didn't love it, and so like you have people Staten, right, coming in there and trying to right the ship. So like there's months of production on a trailer alone. So if people didn't like the art style or whatnot, like I don't know what that year-end update's really gonna look like realistically. And if people didn't like the art style, if it was as flawed as what people have been saying it is, then the spring is just not realistic. I do think it's end of year. Yeah. So again, I want Halo to be good. I just got the Master Chief pop in, so like I'm all in. I'm all in on this. I wouldn't buy a Funko any other way.
Can I go next? Boom.
Yeah, by all means, everyone. Once you jump in on this, obviously, again, you coming from a production mentality, which of course we know that you're working on the Everborn saga. We do know that sometimes people speak out of turn. He probably, to what Mr. Babbitt says, doesn't know the production schedule. He is just doing the mocap, so he's not doing anything else more than that. I'm sure that he talks to 343. I mean, he's heavily involved with the game, but this is a game, like Mr. Babbitt says, it has to be right when it releases. There's just no other way about it. This has to be a 90+ meta, and I say that with respect because we all want Halo. I don't think there's a gamer out there that calls themselves a gamer that wants to see this franchise fail, that wants to see this game launch and bomb. Nobody wants to see that. And if you do, then you are just a hateful person, because nobody wants to see anybody fail. What are your opinions on this?
So I have quite a bit to say on this one. This is what I came here for today. Let's talk about this one. Okay, so firstly, I just want to say, Bad Bit, I disagree with you a little bit in that about transparency. I think they've been too transparent.
They've been too transparent, you think?
Yeah, I think that it's I appreciate what they're trying to do just as a whole, what Phil Spencer's trying to do, being more transparent about these things and talking to us like adults. But if this lead up to the next generation has taught us anything, is that we're not adults. And
you know what? That's a good, like, just even today's any conversation on Twitter, we're all real big dummies. So you know what? Point made.
So I think they need to just shut up until it's ready to go.
Sure.
And they need to wow us. Now that's my first point. Don't be transparent. Use the air of mystery until you are ready to wow us.
I got a question, just not to derail, but would you not have even said, "Oh, we're gonna have an update at the end of the year"? Would you just have been completely silent?
I would shut what they call the fuck up. Is what I would.
Nothing wrong with that, dude.
I love it. All right.
So that's that, and then the next thing I want to say is, anyone that knows me knows my favorite gaming franchise of all time is and will always be Zelda, but my second favorite franchise of all time is and will always be Halo. Right, and I'm not one of those people who sort of hated on 343 when they took over for Halo 4, because at that time I wasn't playing a lot of multiplayer, and I was like, wow, they're really humanizing Master Chief and taking it in a different direction. And then when Halo 5 came out, I was all in on the lead up, and they had really gotten the gameplay right. The graphics were amazing, and the story, I gave them a mulligan because I said surely they're going to follow this up in a year or two, and because it sort of ended on a cliffhanger. So while it wasn't as top notch of a story as Halo 4, I didn't hate that story. And I think in hindsight, we live in a world where if you didn't love something, you absolutely hate it. And so I think a lot of people give that Halo 5 story a lot more hate than it deserved. I think that they are an amazing studio, and I also find it funny that we've watched so many Xbox fans recently talk about how tooling wasn't there, and that's why games aren't performing the way they're supposed to perform, and then shit all over 343 because their game wasn't performing the way it was supposed to perform. Perhaps the tooling is part of the issue why Halo looked the way it did. So that's that thing. Now, the next thing is, I, again, because I'm a Halo stan, I liked what I saw. And if they released that, I would have been happy. I'm sorry. That's the truth. I can pretend like I was out there with the pitchforks and I said delay it. No, I didn't say that. I wanted it to come out. And if it came out the way it was and they upgraded it later, I personally, because I have such an affinity for the franchise, would have accepted that. Fight me, right? Now, to this actor, I'm going to quote Leonardo DiCaprio playing Howard Hughes in the Martin Scorsese movie, The Aviator. You are just an actor. I don't care what you say. I don't think he knows what he's talking about. And I don't think we're going to see this thing before the end of 2021, maybe even 2022.
Oh, wow.
Hot damn.
I said it.
Okay,
and
listen.
You ain't alone.
I hope I'm wrong, but again, I really think that 343 gets a lot of shit, and they are a top tier AAA developer, and people are super hard on them. And I do think it was a lot of PlayStation haters that controlled this conversation around Halo Infinite. I'm not saying that there wasn't polish that needed to be done, and maybe there are background things going on that we couldn't see, but the vision that they put forth, I think is overall solid, and it needed polish. But I wasn't angry when I saw that footage. Maybe I'm alone, but
I think
listen.
you definitely weren't alone. I don't want to extend this morning, but I need to ask you a question. You
Yes,
said 343 and top tier in the same sentence. Why do you think that? What have they given you to think that?
Okay, so and I'm reaffirming this because on the Series X I have been playing Halo 5 again.
Okay.
I don't know when was the last time you looked at that game again, but the presentation of that game, and you can see, you are not going to get that in almost any shooter. So let's just say people like the story more. And I have a feeling that the reason people didn't like the story in Halo 5 was the same reason I didn't like Halo 2. Not that I didn't like it, but I didn't love it as much as 1 and 3 because I didn't want to play as the Arbiter, right?
Right.
I didn't care for Commander Locke. I didn't want to go back and forth with him. And, you know, to me, that is what took it off course. This idea that Cortana, I think they should have left her dead, unfortunately, because that was such a powerful statement at the end of 4. So I think that there are some narrative choices I don't like, but there are narrative choices that I hated in Last of Us 2. That doesn't mean it wasn't made by a quadruple A studio, right? So what do people, when people really talk about Halo 5, what do they say they didn't like? The story. But the campaign itself, the gameplay, fire.
So
hot
fire.
Okay. Right?
Yeah.
And then Halo 4, they were trying to chase that Call of Duty loadouts and all of that.
They sure were.
Yeah, that multiplayer sucked.
That
story was great.
The story was fantastic. Graphically,
that's my favorite one.
I got to tell you, and
I got one more point. But go ahead. I won't forget it. Go ahead.
No. I was gonna say to your point about Halo 4. Halo 4, if you remember, man, it's probably still one of the best looking Xbox 360 games to date. Yeah, the story was incredible. I really, really enjoy. Halo 3 is my favorite of all time. But Halo 4 was fantastic, and that was their first go around. Again, like Joe said, coming from someone who was a big multiplayer, a Halo multiplayer, I did not like multiplayer on 4. 5 was great, but the story, I mean, again, if you put on Halo 5 right now, you put on Halo 5 Guardians, whether you play it on your X or whether you play it on your Series X, the game is drop dead gorgeous. And but with that said,
it's fun as well.
Yeah, but for me, not really, because I don't want to use lock. I felt
I don't blame you.
You played 80% of the game. You played as
yes,
lock.
That's the problem.
That was the big difference. Halo 2 was 50-50 at least.
And I think the biggest issue with Halo 5 wasn't what we got. It was what was pitched to us through these incredible, very expensive commercials about one being down, the other one killing them, and vice versa. And when you get the game, it's nothing like that. I think that was the biggest problem.
Yeah. Also, to me, I'm gonna fight back with you. Halo 5's combat was doo-doo, and I'm gonna tell you why. Two reasons. Any Promethean gun sucks.
Yeah, they all
fighting
suck.
the Prometheans are boring.
Yep,
and it's amplified by the music. The music is non-existent in the fights, which really takes away from the feelings you're supposed to get. That epicness, like the Halo Combat Evolved, landing on the beachhead, having that music drum up while you're fighting, which in your head is like hundreds of guys, but in actuality it's like a dozen. That's amplified because of the music, and the Halo 5's music was. Not a fan.
I will give you a point on the music, but again, it's just though the production quality. I'm sorry, I love that gameplay, and playing it so smooth on the Series X made me fall back in love with it. But again, it might just be my affinity for the brand, But I do think 343 gets a lot of shit that they sometimes deserve, but sometimes don't deserve.
Yeah,
Now,
absolutely.
go ahead, Forte.
So just okay. So and you won't find, like I said, a bigger. You're probably bigger because you're where you stand on it. I love it. I love Halo. Love it to death. My problem from day one hasn't been that 343 is a terrible developer, even though it comes off that way with the way that I talk about them sometimes. I think because they're a AAA developer and they make a good game. They make a great product. The problem I have with it is the inconsistencies that they have with as a company. When I look at Halo 4 campaign-wise, amazing. Graphically amazing. One of the most beautiful games. It is literally the second best looking game. I mean, it should be because of the times that they came out in. But the thing looks like it could be next gen, especially if you play it on the next gen system. It looks like a next gen game. Same thing with Halo 5. I think the biggest problem with Halo 5 to me isn't that the story is terrible. I don't think Halo 5 story is terrible. I think they did it a miss. It was a huge injustice to the game with the way they promoted it.
I listened to all of the podcasts before it because remember they had that
me too
dramatized podcast to it.
Tell me where Blue Team came from. Did they explain that?
No.
Halo 5? Exactly. Like
that's what I'm saying. This whole Locke versus Chief thing was like they set it up to be this spectacular fight, this stare down.
Hit it, nail right in the head, man. Yep.
Experience Locke being the sheriff that's going to try to bring in the Rogue Ranger and stuff, and you were supposed to you didn't know how to feel. Is Chief really gone rogue? This whole Locke dude his whole job is to bring him in. I think to me in my mind, I was expecting more of that, and then when it ended up being something completely different, that's kind of what threw me off on Halo 5. I still think the game itself, the story itself was solid. I just think the way they promoted it is what gave people the bad taste in their mouth. And then where my disdain for Halo for 343 really truly comes from, we get Master Chief Collection, 4 games that work flawlessly on their own. They tried to do something ambitious, of course, and they break the game and it doesn't work for years and years and years and years until they finally get it to work. So I really have high disdain for them trying to do something like that. If you can't do it, don't do it, or at least don't release it until it's ready to be released. You gave us a buggy game that basically just tainted the whole reason that people love Halo for the longest. And then the one thing, and I'm with you when it comes to Halo Infinite, the one thing that 343 does great is have a great looking game. Great. Like there's no one can even come close to saying 343 don't know how to make a Halo leg look great. And when we got Halo Infinite, granted, they went with the old aesthetic, but the old aesthetic, it still can look good, but they had so much dry textures all over the place with no shadowing on stuff. It just threw me back. I loved what I saw from the gameplay, but they literally looked like they regressed in the one I thought they do great. And that's when in my mind, I'm like, dude, what is truly going on with this company? I mean, the one thing I thought they would do good is make a great game. And that was the thing that kind of set me back. Like, yo, I don't know really what's going on with them. But of course, I'm going to rock with them because I want to see Halo be great. Anybody that think, now just to go to your question, Boom, about this game being released in 2021, absolutely not. I don't see... In my mind, I can't see a situation where this game releases in 2021. If it does, that's great. But guess what? The level of attention that's going to be on this game is going to be so immense that if they do not stand up to what's going to come at them, and this game does not show out and perform like it needs to, it's going to get buried and people are going to forget about it just as fast as they delayed it the first time. I feel, and I'm also with Everborn on, they don't need to even talk about this game. I said once they delayed it, I kept going on podcast after podcast. Yo, stop talking about Halo, because all you doing is bringing people's memory up about a game they should be playing right now.
Yeah.
Let me
Every system that a person buys when it comes to the brand new system. So that's already an indicator that Halo was supposed to be here. But then you're going out talking about it as much as you want. I say wait until this game is 100% into the way that you wanted, the vision that you want Halo to be, then come out and talk about it, and then do what Bethesda does. This is our game. 3 months from now, you'll be playing it, because at a certain point, you got expectations at this all-time high, and then on top of that, you're going to have the whole media, Xbox players, PlayStation gamers, everybody's going to be looking at this game like, yo, 343 can't make no mistakes. If they make mistakes, that's it for Halo. And that's the thing that
scrutiny is through the roof.
Gonna be under a microscope, man.
They literally just got to be quiet and not talk about this ever. No, well, not ever, but for the rest of this year, because the changes
put it out silent.
Not ever. But I just feel like
in the middle of the night, like they dropped the Saturn.
Right.
No, don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. But the fact that they brought Jason Staten in, the fact that they have overhauls on the game that they're trying to do, the fact it's so many different things. We truly don't know what was wrong with the game. We just can guess because of the moves that they made as a company. But I just feel like if you're going to make a sizable change to the game like they're doing, 6 months ain't enough, especially for what we saw. Now, if they could pull some wizardry out and get the game out this summer, I'm 100% in, because I want to play Halo now versus a year and a half from now. But I just think the scrutiny that they got, they need to put that thing in a cooker at least a calendar year before they think about bringing it out. And then maybe bring it out in the summer or the spring of 2022. But Halo's one of those games that they want to bring at the end of the year. Yep. So it may not come out to 2022, but guess what? If they bring it out this year or next year now, I'll be happy, but the game has to be flawless. And you shouldn't have to say that about a game, because no game is flawless, but they done painted themselves into a corner by continually talking about this game and not letting people forget about the crazy stuff that they kind of felt like they saw when they saw it the first time back in July.
Let me just add that final point. Like, I think we need to prepare ourselves for several things. Firstly, is that there is the potential here that Halo is past its prime.
Agreed.
And I hate to say that. And the only way to really bring Halo back is to reimagine the character and the franchise, and it's sort of what Darrah did with God of War, right? And I don't know if from what we've seen and heard, I don't know if it's a large enough departure from what we know of the Master Chief to be that kind of thing that God of War was. And that being said, to Forte's point, with all of the scrutiny that is on this thing, there is no goodwill, right? Right now, we're seeing Cyberpunk 2077 get reviewed, and it has a ton of bugs, and nobody knows how it's going to run on console, and you can't even show the console. They wouldn't let anybody show any gameplay, but people are still, with all the bugs, giving CD Projekt Red the benefit of the doubt. Microsoft and 343 Industries do not have that right now. Yeah. And I think they almost need people to forget about Halo to the point where maybe Starfield or something else has to come out. And then when people trust Microsoft again to bring a AAA, what they call banger, then you put a Halo out. Even if it's ready in March, I don't think they should release it because of the climate right now. Just the technical issues are one part of it, but people's perception and willingness to accept and be excited about this is another thing that now needs to be managed, because there are people right now that are looking at it to fail, and that then they can say, "Ha, that's the news story. Halo still sucks. It's dead." Right?
That's true.
And
Makes me
Yeah.
sad.
I don't know how they overcome that except with time or a complete reimagining of the Master Chief character and the franchise, and going back into the nostalgia path that they've gone. I love that, but I don't know if that's enough to bring Halo to the top, to become the top shooter again.
Very interesting. I mean, listen, it's a great point.
That scares me.
Yeah, I mean,
You know what I mean?
yeah, no, and you know what, dude, you have all valid points, and you know what, there again, it's room for concern. Me personally, and I've said this, I think this is going to be the 100th time I've said this. I think the way that they could rekindle the excitement, the way that they could bring back Master Chief in 2021 in the biggest, most grandest way possible, is to allow the team to fix what was wrong and giving them the time to do that. November so right now we're in we're going into the second week of December. If by some chance they decide that this thing needs some sort of a ridiculous massive overhaul, or they're going to do something, whatever they're going to do, if they can do it in 11 months and somehow bring out Halo Infinite in the grandest way possible on the 20th anniversary of the franchise, which is November 15th, 2021. And it is this giant spectacular that Halo has been known for, with extra controllers and a new Master Chief helmet to wear, and a special edition Series X and X and S, and everyone is dancing in the aisles because Halo's coming back, and it's as great as we all want it to be. This entire conversation goes away. Like, we forget all about this. So I'm with you. I say let them take their time. Do I want it in the spring? Yes. Am I fearful that they'll do something stupid like, hey, we're going to release the multiplayer first and then the single player last, or vice versa, which is dumb. And I hope that they don't do that. I just give us the complete package when it's done 100%, even if you have to sit on one portion. Because I from what we saw on July 23rd to now, I can't see that they've done that much of a difference, in my opinion. Sean D, I want to get your opinion on this. Again, the actors and actresses sometimes speak out of turn. I think that's what happened here. The fact that he's saying that it's in the can and ready to go by spring is very suspect, but it's worthy of a conversation, especially because it's Halo, it's Master Chief, and it is Xbox. What are your thoughts on this? Do they release this in the spring, or do you think that he got his wires crossed?
Off the way that we all reacted to it from the July, I mean, I know, and I remember when we were on that show and we all gave our opinions. All of us were hyped off the gameplay, and we all, like, on that day, that panel, we all liked the gameplay, right?
Yes.
But, you know, after you always get that hindsight kind of mode where you go back, you look at it and you're like, this isn't looking right. So the way they ripped it off, like, from not releasing, I don't see that. It's just not. It's not feasible. It just doesn't make sense to me.
I agree. Yeah.
With that said, though, as far as Evermore, I hear what you're saying, man. Evermore. I'm sorry. I hear what you said, man. I want them to not be transparent either. When things go bad, I prefer when people just shut up and just get to work. They go completely radio silent, and you don't see anything until that thing is like, holy crap, they went to work. But they've already basically said they're not doing that style. So I kind of got a question for everybody. Brian Jarrett talked about how they're going to do the end of the year show, and that they're doing it so that they can restart transparency with the game. I have this opinion that they are going to kind of do a Sea of Thieves type of thing, where they kind of like use player input to like build out the game, because this game isn't going to be like a normal type of Halo. It's going to be more of a like living world. what do you guys think? Do you think that's the type of way they're going to go about it? Like that maybe in spring what they'll do is they'll actually release like a beta version that they allow people to play in.
Honestly, I think that is okay for the multiplayer aspect. And I'm not saying that they should release multiplayer by itself, but I do think it's fine to have the multiplayer aspect of it be something that evolves along with the community, right? But the campaign still needs to be irrefutable. And I don't know how they do that. And one other thing that I didn't get to say before, 343 needs to stop chasing Bungie. They need to stop saying, let's take it back to, combat evolved. They need to make it their own. They started that, it seems like, with Halo 4, and it feels like they got away from that, and they just need to own it. And even this whole because they want to do this sort of open world kind of thing, or hub world thing. Like that still feels like it's chasing Destiny, which comes back to chasing Bungie again. Just own the goddamn game.
Yeah.
Own the franchise.
Yeah, it's like they have a lack of confidence, and I understand why. The fan base, as much as they love it, they will a fan base, as much as they can love something, they will totally tear that shit down.
It's as you see that in Star Wars. Not to bring Star Wars into the conversation, but you know what the biggest problem is with Star Wars? It's us, the fans.
Yeah, we're the worst.
Yeah, we are absolutely the worst. Except, of course, you're talking about the Mandalorian. But we're not going to get into Star Wars because we're going to be here.
We don't deserve it.
We don't. Absolutely.
I'm sorry. Like, when you're creating something, it is your job to tell the fans what they want. You have to give them what they don't know they wanted until they experience it.
I mean that's a great point.
Story you're trying to tell. Like, as much as I didn't like the decisions that they made in Last of Us 2, and I really didn't like those decisions, you can tell that was made by a confident motherfucker.
Yeah, no, it's true. Again, it's why I dislike the game terribly, because they turned one of my favorite characters into a heel and ruined one of my favorite new characters. But again, we're not going to get into that just yet. Let's get to Cybernox. We'll get to you. You've attempted to interject. Well, I know we know that you're a big Halo fan. Does this mocap actor have it wrong? And do you think that from what we saw in July to now, which is only not even it's 4 months at best of development time, could we see a spring release, or do you think that this is something that they're going to release when they get it right?
I'll keep this short, Boom. I don't think he has it right at all. I think this game here is too important to release in such a short amount of time. We've spoken about it in the past. No way it's in the spring. I don't think a beta is. I think they should keep this under wraps, multiplayer story, everything, until they are fully 100% knowing that this game is going to blow everyone's socks off. They shouldn't release anything. Don't give anybody an ounce of ammo. Don't give them anything for them to start talking shit about your game again. Just don't do it. You don't need to do it. You already took the delay. Everybody wanted Halo, but just take your time. I would say holiday next year.
Yeah.
It could potentially go longer, like everyone here already said. And to Everborn's point, we've mentioned this a bunch of times in the show. To me, 343 has never had their own identity to the Halo franchise. They were always chasing somebody. Halo 4, they were chasing Call of Duty. Halo 5, I don't think they knew what to do there.
Screenwriters.
Exactly. So just take your time, make it your own. The thing with Halo 5 that I think what was happening then is they were trying to introduce us to a new protagonist just so they can stop just so they can introduce another protagonist so they don't have to use Master Chief all the time, so maybe they can do another spin-off, another Halo, anything going with Locke. But obviously the fan base spoke out, and that's not something that they wanted. But no way, this game, in the minimum will be holiday next year. But yeah, we just gotta trust in 343 that they know what they're doing now.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, I'll say this, and Mag, why don't you close out this incredible show and this very, very, very passion-based topic? Look, when you paint the picture of 343, depending on who you ask, there's going to be people that say, I really like what I see. I liked Halo 4 single-player campaign. Maybe I didn't like the multiplayer. Didn't care too much for the single-player campaign, but it looked good. And Warzone and multiplayer were fantastic. Halo Master Chief Collection now is a masterpiece, but not so much in the first 2 or 3 years of its inception. So people will say, and then again in this conversation we say, well, Microsoft invested $500 million in the space engine, right? That was supposed to be the second coming of God. And it turns out that a lot of people walked away from the July 23rd show very unenthused. I mean, again, I didn't think it was the worst graphics I've ever seen, but it certainly wasn't next-gen graphics. You put all of that into a bowl and you mix it up. From a chef's point of view, I don't think you're going to get a tasty meal. I think what you're going to get is what was left in the refrigerator and a few things they found left in the cupboards. And sometimes that doesn't make a good meal. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I got to say this. I've been listening to everybody talk for the last 20 minutes, half an hour or so, and very passionate, by the way. I just like to point that out. However, I am going to look at this whole thing from a business perspective. This is the way I'm going to look at this. Now, no disrespect. Before I even get started, let me just say, no disrespect to this Bruce Thomas actor. But I mean, honestly, I'm not going to take anything that he's saying seriously. I mean, what the hell does this guy know about what the big shots are doing? Unless he's on the same bowling team as Phil and Matt Booty, he doesn't know what the hell's going on. Okay? All he could do is speculate, just like all of us, right? That's basically all we could do. Now, I want to approach this from, not even 2 angles, multiple angles here. I just want to quickly give you the pros and cons, okay, of launching Halo in the spring. And then I'm going to give you the pros and cons of launching in the fall. Okay, now let's start with the launch in the spring. If you launch in the spring, that's great. You fill in that first-party gap that's been sorely missing with the launch of the Xbox. And that should, okay, quotes, provide Xbox with enough buffer time to prepare for fall 2021. With other exclusive launches, giving Halo time to breathe. Okay, the negative of this, though, okay, that's the one positive thing. The negative of this is that as it stands, Xbox and PS5s are selling out the second they're available. That's mostly the hardcore fan bases of both consoles. And what happens when the hardcore have all their consoles they need? Well, now it's time for the casual majority consumers to jump in. If you launch in the spring and consoles are still in short supply, you aren't giving potential consumers a reason, or at least a big launch event, okay, to get people excited or get people hyped to buy the new console, especially if they can't get their hands on one. Now, by the way, another little side note, okay, I was speaking to Mooch on Twitter. Yeah, that Mooch, everybody, the one that everybody compares me to. I don't hear the resemblance. Anyways, he said something interesting. If they launch in the spring, how much turnaround, okay, could they have accomplished in that short period of time from when we first saw it in late summer or midsummer to now, or to the spring? I mean, that's a solid point to think about. Just a little side note. It's just something that he brought up, and it made me think about it. Okay, so anyways, back to the situation. Okay, let's look at the fall now. You have the 20th anniversary in November. Okay. And by then, God willing, stores should be stacked with consoles. Now you have what, should have been this fall. Okay. A new Xbox with a big time Halo launch. Okay. So now, let's say fall 2021, you're going to have that. Okay. So now you've got fall 2021, PS5s, Xboxes should be readily available for everyone to purchase. Well, that's when you need Halo. You don't need Halo now. The consoles are selling out no matter what. You need Halo when, like I said, when those casual consumers can get their hands, walk into a store and just pick one up. Okay? Give the rest of the world a reason to buy an Xbox. That to me is a no-brainer. Wisest move. Anyways, but if you think about it, okay, this is where it's just going to keep seesawing all over the place here. I still see a problem here. There's a rumor. Now, we're going to look at this from the business side. There's a rumor that Forza Horizon 5 is coming next year. Okay, and what is the stigma that's been dogging Microsoft for years? All they pump out is Halo, Forza, Gears. Okay, let's just say that they launch in the fall. Well, now you're launching the big fall lineup with what? Halo and Forza. And you're literally walking right into the hands of Xbox haters, naysayers, and all that kind of stuff. And the stigma continues. So what do? It's quite the pickle if you think about it. So I'm thinking about if you're sitting at a boardroom right now and you're talking about this and you're looking at this, you're like, well, what do we do? How do we shake it up? I say, okay, if the other studios are ready, okay, from me, diversify your 2021 lineup. Okay, you launch Halo in the spring, make it grandiose in nature. Okay, the game cannot be ignored. Okay, have it in everyone's face so that without a new console, okay, you can't wait to get your hands on one. Okay, you can't wait to get your hands on a Series X or an S to play this beast of a title. Once you secure that battleground, but of course, that's the big if. You're going to have to secure that battleground. Look ahead to the fall. You put Forza Horizon 5 out, okay? And it's the standout as the premier racer on its own because we all know damn well Polyphony is world famous for multiple delays. So you know that Gran Turismo is not coming fall 2021. I don't care what anybody says. So you have the racing genre cornered. And instead of Halo in the fall, launch Hellblade 2 in the fall to take directly on Horizon Forbidden West. Okay, that's how you do it. Strategy. 2 open world-ish, okay, fantasy games, strong female leads. You face Sony head on in the fall by playing their own game, so to speak. Okay, God of War is not coming out in 2021, okay? All right, we all know this. That I would bet anything on that. I would say March 2022 at the earliest. They said 2021 just to get everybody to buy a PS5 ASAP, okay? That's just a marketing ploy. Okay, the big battle.
I agree with that.
Yeah, well, see, oh, yeah, by the way, also, how about this? To bolster that lineup, maybe throw in Compulsion Games as new title, to give an even bigger edge, and then you slam out a truckload of ZeniMax back catalog games on Game Pass, and you put your foot on the neck of Sony in the fall, and you put the pressure on them. I'm not saying you're going to defeat them or whatever. I'm just saying put the pressure on them. And you start selling out those Series S machines for little Johnnies at Christmas worldwide. You know how many parents at my school that I've told them about Game Pass, they're all on it now. Okay? They'll never buy a full game again. That's music to any parent's ears. Okay? So that's what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is you launch Halo in the spring, you put Forza in the fall, you put Hellblade 2 in there. Okay? Anyways, all in all, this is the way that I would do it. Okay? And yes. Sorry, what were you going to say, brother?
No, I was going to. Okay, so the only thing I disagree with, and I agree with mostly with your premise. The only thing I disagree with is I don't think Microsoft has an IP. Like Halo used to be that IP, but this goes back to what Everborn was talking about. Yeah. Halo not having the appeal like it used to have. Mm-hmm. So I don't think there is no other Microsoft quality IP that can kind of stand up in the holiday season with all the other games that come out.
But it depends on how Hellblade 2 looks, though.
Well, I don't even think Hellblade 2 can, because the thing I think Microsoft needs to do is they need to kind of do what the Sony approach is. The holiday is usually leave that to the third-party juggernaut that hit it. Leave that to them. But the thing you can do is get one of those big games into Game Pass. Let the Game Pass be a game that is the funnel for a big third-party game for the holiday. I still don't think Halo should come out next year anyways, because I think it's too early in the summer or the spring because of the thing you just said. I don't think there's going to be enough Series X's out there in a while to really showcase the system as much. So I think the beginning of the year is going to be pretty much like we have right now. Now, when it comes to your thoughts on how Forza can hit, I think Forza would be perfect right there in the summer going into the fall, and then have some type of big third-party acquisition. You don't have to own them, but have some big third-party game in Game Pass for the holiday, and then you turn around in 2021 in February or March, and then you come out with Halo and let Halo jump off your 2022 campaign. And by that time, you got games like Avowed that could be around the corner. Fable could also be coming out that year. I think they need to find a way to diversify themselves throughout the calendar year and leave third party the holiday season, because there is so many games out there that people want to buy. Your game can literally get lost in the shovel. And we're talking about even Sony at this point with games like Spider-Man selling 15 million copies. That game came out in September.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's the only downside to the thing. I think you're literally on the right point, but I literally just think that third party is the key for the holiday for Microsoft.
It's a bit of a pickle, man. I'm talking about from like a first party point of view. I mean, I'm not talking about whatever.
Well, Game Pass is a first.
Have,
well, Game Pass is a first party point of view, because even if
fair enough.
Yeah, because even if they don't own it, Game Pass is their wheelhouse. That's why everybody was talking about when Halo got delayed. We were on this show right here talking about it. Yo, find a way to get Cyberpunk 2077 in Game Pass this holiday year, because guess what? Even if that game is available on other platforms, if you got an Xbox and a PlayStation and you got Game Pass, why would you pay $70 for the game to play it on PlayStation and it's going to be just as good on Xbox?
Right.
So that's the difference right there. Mm-hmm. That's where they need to fight the third party battle in the holiday. But for the rest of the year, you're absolutely right in everything you just said.
Well, I think Game Pass is the motivator. It's just I don't think they need to buy anything or like exclusive wise, you know, the whole Cyberpunk 2077 thing. That's a multi-million-dollar, you know, exclusivity deal.
Oh, it definitely is that.
And I'm talking in the triple digits. It's like buying a, you know, depending on the IP, that's like buying a studio type of price. And I don't think Microsoft would be willing to pay, or the payout would be worth it for whatever metric they want to hit. I think you sell Game Pass by just Game Pass existing and promoting the existing games that are on it. Game Pass is an extension of how you purchase games. I don't think it's supposed to be the end all be all. I think you're right. I think third party games are usually the thing that's going to get people in the door. Like I think the thing that really killed Halo 4 that one year was, for some reason, Microsoft was just like, yeah, you know, we could go against Call of Duty. It's fine. We're shooters, but it's like one's futuristic, one's not. It's like, no. You're still launching against Call of Duty. You're in the same genre. So I think by launching in the holiday season or even near it, that's dangerous for you. And I you know, middle age, I think you killed it there. I think maybe spring 2022, you need systems in homes, and you also need to. Sony did something brilliant with Spider-Man. You know, that game could be played on a PlayStation 4, but every time you saw it, PlayStation 5, right? Or PlayStation exclusive. So, you know, they showed you reasons why you needed to get it on that system. So Microsoft, if their mission is to sell boxes, I think they want to give you the reason as to why you should play it on the Series X rather than the One. Yep. Also, on the other hand, I don't think their mission at all is to really sell boxes. No, I really don't think they give a shit anymore. So, like, agreed. I think, like, when we talk about, like, you know, Sony versus Microsoft, like, we had this conversation in DMs prior with Archimedes. It's like, I don't think Xbox needs to respond to Sony. I don't think Sony needs to respond to Microsoft, because they're really doing two totally different things and offering two totally different products out there. So, yeah, Halo's in let's be honest, it's in bad shape right now, but we have hope. And you know what? Hearing this conversation, I think Everborn, Middle Age, I think you guys both nailed it here. Is don't show me anything. Just show me when it's ready. You know,
yeah, talk about it when you have something to show and you're confident that it's going to show good.
Hey, I just Mag, I just want to agree with you there that I don't know when the right time is, but they do need to space it. They need to position it right as far as launch, irrespective of when the game is done. Right? They need to
be strategic at that point.
Yeah, when they have a window, meaning maybe we're in between launches of Sony first party titles where everybody's feeling like, oh man, there's nothing to play right now because I just played the latest banger and the next one's not coming out for 6 months. That is when you make your clear distinction, right?
Right. And just like they did with Miles Morales. Like Sony did with Miles Morales. I don't care what anybody says, regardless of polish. Okay. They probably had that done a year ago, a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
We don't know. I think it was a year ago at least because it was going to be a PS4, standalone DLC a la Uncharted Lost Legacy. Okay. But what did they do? They did the smart thing and said, guys, let's put some extra polish on this, hold it off, and we're going to use it to bolster the launch of the PS5. It is absolutely brilliant. It's not rocket science. Okay. It's just brilliance.
I mean,
and they pulled it off.
To be fair, though, I think everyone thought that's what Microsoft was doing with Halo Infinite because it had been 5 effing years since we got the last one. Yeah. So why, like, it should have been done a year before, and just sitting waiting for the release. I think that's what everybody assumed, but and
that was, you know what, dude, to be honest with you, that was going to be the case until someone decided to move it from Unreal Engine to the Surface Engine. Exactly. And that's the biggest mistake that they could have made.
Did Halo ever run on an Unreal Engine? Has that rumor actually been confirmed? Because I remember hearing that, and it feels like I always feel like they've always used their own engine, or they've used Havoc for a lot of things in there.
Well, they were still running on the engine that Bungie built, the modified Havoc engine, and that's what Destiny still runs on to this day. So I really don't know. I mean, that's what the rumor and speculation is, that they moved to Unreal 4. But even if they move from the modified Havoc engine, they should have. I heard someone make this point a while ago where they said, we understand that you want Halo to be this grandiose thing, but you're so far in development on Halo Infinite, you should just leave it the way it is and then build your engine, and then your next Halo becomes Halo Infinite.
Yeah.
Because that was the biggest, that even if you're moving from Havoc, even if it's not Unreal, changing mid-cycle on a development cycle on an engine is not a good thing to do, especially if you don't have the time to actually do it. And that's the thing. Halo was already on, at that point when we heard that, already on a 3-year hiatus, because no Halo game has ever been longer than 3 years releasing. So we already knew we were going to be waiting longer for the game to come out. At that point, they should have just made the decision, say, we're going to push Halo 6 out, whatever it's going to be, and then build the engine around what you want to do for your next Halo, which would be Halo Infinite. But it's already too late to, change any of that. We got the bed that we're laying in as we are right now, and we just got to hope that they fine-tune everything the way it needs to be so we get the best version of Halo. And unfortunately, Halo is going to, people don't want to hear it, but 10-year plan. The Halo that we get day one is not going to be the way that game's going to be 5 years later. You can look at games like Destiny and see that game is nowhere near what it was 3 years ago to what it is now. And you're going to see the same thing with Halo. We just hope that Halo is a more complete product than Destiny was when it first launched.
Honestly, I would be okay with that if the campaign was good. I'd be happy to live in.
I agree.
And I'd be happy to go along for whatever ride. But they have to nail the campaign. If that campaign doesn't work, I think Halo falls to the side of whatever they try to call anytime what they call a Destiny killer comes up. Like you can't.
Well, first of all, don't use that. Don't even use that term.
Yeah,
every game that used that term has died a miserable death. So don't do it.
But that's my point, though, right? Like it's going to, if they don't nail the campaign, it will share the same fate of all the so-called Destiny killers.
Well, right? Again, I just want them to get it right. I want us to all enjoy Halo and bring it back to a respectable excitement. But folks, this has been one of the longest shows we've ever done, and yeah, we definitely went into overtime because this is a topic I knew was going to bring a lot of passion. I want to thank everybody. We had over 300 people here today, and that's a big deal because this is still a small channel and it's growing. And we're happy to have everyone that tuned in. I want to thank everybody for the very generous super chats that came in early on. Obviously, these super chats not only help power the show, but they also help me do giveaways. And obviously, we had two big ones. One obviously in November, and we have another one coming up at the end of the month on the 18th with Christmas with Mr. and Mrs. Boomstick. Of course, I want to thank my panel and, of course, the 3 guests that jumped in at the last minute. Sorry that the show took so long, but I'm glad you guys were here to help break down these incredible topics. So let's get into the outros and get everyone to bed because it is getting a little late here on the East Coast. And we're going to start with Everborn. Thank you so much for jumping in, brother. Super appreciate it. Why don't you tell everyone where they can reach out to you on social media, and more importantly, tell them about the Everborn saga.
Yes. So firstly, reaching out to me, I have changed my name on PlayStation and Xbox. So you can find me at Everborn Saga on the PlayStation and Xbox if you want to play some games together. You can check out everbornsaga.com. You can see we do comics, video games, working on a pilot for an anime series. I am posting a link to the Kickstarter. It's not going yet because it's like December and everybody wants to buy Christmas presents. So please check out that Kickstarter page and follow it. We're going to launch it sometime in January or February when people have money again. And if you want to talk to me on Twitter, Steve A.M. Johnson, that's where you get unfiltered me and maybe a few F-bombs here or there. And you can check out The Everborn on Facebook and Instagram if you want to keep up to date with the day-to-day development of all the Everborn projects going on. So thank you, everybody, for having me on. Thank you, Mag, Forte, Knox, Bad Bit, Sean D, and Boom. Like you are one of the guys that brought me back into gaming. So special thanks to you.
Well, thank you for being here, brother. Super appreciate it. Sean D, why don't you do us a favor, brother, and tell everyone not only about your outstanding and growing YouTube channel, but where could people reach out to you and potentially strike up a conversation on social media?
Well, thanks for having me again, Boom. Love to come on your show. You guys can follow me on Twitter at Sean D at Gam Entertain, or you can check out my YouTube channel at Sean D Gam Entertainment. Bad Bit, Everborn, Cyber, Forte, and now middle-aged game guy, also known as Mag. Thanks for having me up here, guys. Love chopping it up with you guys, and I can't wait to do it again.
Well, thank you for being here, brother. Super appreciate that. And of course, we have someone from on loan from PlayStation Nation. Joe, thank you so much for dual working. Obviously, you're doing something on for your channel as well as helping me on this channel. Tell everyone about the trophy room and where could people reach out to you on social media.
Ooh, so yeah, no, I'm working on a few projects. I'm gonna be burning the midnight oil, seeing if I can't get one video out tomorrow. If not, I'll let you guys know. You'll know. You'll see it. You'll be amazed. You'll be like, "Whoa, Joe does all this work." You can find the trophy room over on YouTube. It's a show where me and my best friend Kyle talk about the latest, greatest, all things PlayStation. This week's show, man, it's one of those weeks. Everything just comes out that day afterwards. Damn your PlayStation hack. But I do want to pimp out something that we're doing. It's pretty rad. We do it every single year. Jeff Keighley has his own game award, and I think it's cute that he tries to top us each and every year, but he never does. He fails miserably, face plants every single time. We're a little indie show here, right? Covering PlayStation. And you'd be amazed what one man and a Google Doc could do. So what we do each and every year is the Trophy Room Game Awards, where we want to bring the community in to help us decide what is our games that defined 2020. So you could go over to Twitter at PS Trophy Room. You could vote on, for example, our game of the years, which our nominees are The Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima. Please vote for Ghost of Tsushima. Spider-Man Miles Morales, Demon's Souls Remake, Final Fantasy VII Remake. And Kyle really fought for this. And you know what? It did make sense afterwards. But you know what? Fall Guys. Fall Guys is the last one there. So you can go vote on
Man, those sound like
Yeah.
all PlayStation games.
And that's the thing. This is the first year where it's all PlayStation games. Shows you they really freaking killed it this year. So
Mhm.
yeah, go check it out. Vote for Ghost of Tsushima because you know what? It needs to win, and it ought to win because that's
Vote
my
for
game.
Animal Crossing.
No,
Don't
no.
Vote for
Never.
Animal Crossing. I approve
Well,
this message.
Joe,
I'm gonna
thank
go
you so much,
sleep now.
brother. Go take care of business, brother. Thank you again. Super appreciate that. And why don't we get the Gaming Forte? Why don't we get you on out of here, brother? Tell everyone about your outstanding YouTube channel and where can people check you out on other shows and reach out to you on social media.
Yeah, man, this was a great show, man. I truly enjoyed I always enjoy the conversation that's going on with here, but we were on fire today. You know, shout out to Evermore, shout out to Shiny. Guys, always a pleasure being around you. First of all, Shiny, you call middle-aged game guy God, and I know he literally just he literally started looking up at the clouds when you said that. So you just gave that man the best present you can give any old man for the holiday. So
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Right, but it's Gaming Forte everywhere: YouTube, Twitter, Xbox Live, PlayStation. Check me and Slow Mo out on the DPS podcast this Thursday. We will be streaming the Game Awards and having a very intense conversation about what at the very end, because I still think Animal Crossing has this locked up. And we're gonna be joined by the Iron Lords Dizzy. So please check us out on that day. And outside of that, BRAP on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. and Crossfire on Fridays at 7. And the lovely Action Luca, everybody knows her. 3 p.m. on Saturdays, Scumcast. And boom, as always, I know you're tired. You put a lot of work into this show. We're going to get you up out of here, but I truly appreciate everything you do for me and this community.
Well, thanks. It's very kind of you to say, dude, and it's a pleasure to work with you each and every week. 2 super chats came in. Sir X-Men, very generous friend of the show. He drops a $2 super chat and says, Tony Hawk controls like the old school and are awesome. Yeah, Tony Hawk was a great remake. I'm quite enjoying that. And Wilbo Gaggins drops a very generous $2 super chat and said, this has been an amazing debate, Vela. Well, thank you, dude. Super appreciate you being here. And of course, thank you for your generosity.
Yeah.
And
let me add one more thing, because I just thought about something. Someone just said it in the chat.
Yeah.
Tequila Trace, you are absolutely right. Tomorrow is the Destiny 2 patch for everybody on those Xboxes. You got those serious version of systems. Make sure you're ready. 12 p.m. EST. That's when that patch goes live. I do have a video going live at 11 a.m., 1 hour before reset, that is going to go over all of the changes that's going to happen to your system when you finally launch Destiny with the field of view slider, 60 frames per second. Please check that video out. And if you're down to play Destiny, I'm going to be on it all day tomorrow. So hit me up on Xbox Live, same gamer tag as you see right here, Gaming Forte, and we can chalk it up.
Excellent. Well, great public announcement. I totally forgot about that. And Cybernox, why don't we get you on out of here, brother? Tell everyone about your YouTube channel, where they can check it out, subscribe, and also reach out to you and strike up a conversation on social media.
Absolutely. Always appreciate you, Boom. Appreciate you, chat. Sean D, Everborn. I know Mr. Babbitt just left. My primetime brothers. Always a pleasure to be here with you guys every Monday. Cybernox everywhere, guys. I've been playing Destiny like crazy, and it's only going to get better tomorrow because I don't know how I'm gonna stop playing that game. It's so good. But yeah, Cybernox everywhere, guys. Cybernox YouTube, Twitter. That's where I'm mostly more active. I'm gonna be streaming the Song of Iron demo that just came out today. It's probably like one of my most anticipated indies, along with 12 minutes. Demo drop today, so I'm gonna try that out. If you want to check that right after the show, just go over to twitch.tv/Cybernox. And yeah, guys, stay safe out there. Keep on gaming. And yeah, can't wait to be here next Monday.
Well, thank you so much for being here. And last, and in no way least, the loudest man on the panel, who does in fact sound like Mooch from the Crossfire podcast. Mag, thank you so much for being here, brother. Tell everyone about where they could reach out to you on social media, what other shows you on, and where they could potentially hook up with you and play some Xbox or PlayStation.
Yes, well, you can find me here every Monday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Mr. Boomstick XL and friends on Primetime Gaming. You can find me every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. adults only with none other than Noof Nukem and Titan Drago on Gaming After Dark. That is 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Tuesday evening. And tomorrow night, we are going to have the First Lady of Gaming is going to be on the show. The Ashen Luca will be with us.
Nice.
Yes,
Excellent.
so this will be my third show with that lovely young lady. So I really look forward to that. On the Xbox and PlayStation side of things, you could find me under the same name, all capitals, one word, because I don't know how to be quiet. I am the Mag. That's with 2 G's. On Twitter, you can find me at the Middle Age Game Guy. That's with a GY at the end. Anyways, guys, it is late. It was an epic show. A lot of emotion, a lot of great topics. Guys, I can't wait to tangle with you guys next Monday. Everybody have a great week. Have a great night. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care, everyone. And I'm going to close out today's show with something that's important to me. Hopefully, one day it'll be important to you. And that's something my dad taught me. And he used to say, son, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you, you're going to have an awesome night or day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends.